What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the KCM. We're here for Season 2, Week 6. It's flying past. We've got quite the lineup here for you guys today. We'll be bringing it up here shortly. As we jump into game number 1, we've got Queen versus, is that JYJ? A dark blue. A little hard to see, but we got JYJ over there in the top right. Queen in the bottom right. His squad is looking powerful. Queen, Action, Soul Key. That is a nasty Zerg lineup.
Yeah, no, it's really strong. I don't have much hope for this week for the Protoss squad. I mean, maybe, like, you know, the stars align for a victory here for the Protoss. I just don't see it happening. It's most likely going to be a Zerg victory here, but look at the Terran squad, Sharp, Light, and JYJ. Definitely heavy hitters, so could cause a little bit of an upset and put some wins on the board for Protoss. Seems like Protoss squad dugout maybe deciding, going to just be relegating themselves to a semi-finals battle and not putting too much things on the line in these later weeks of the season. Hopefully we'll see a really good semi-finals out of them, but it seems like this week is not going to be so good for them, unfortunately for your Protoss fans. But try not to despair too much. They could still win in the semi-finals and go all the way. It's definitely possible.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate. Last week they pulled out a pretty decent squad, right? They had Best in there. I believe Bisu was in that squad as well. It was looking very promising, but then Sharp, I don't know, he just came out to play. What can you say, man? He absolutely cleaned house.
I mean, he certainly did. He's been improving a lot lately. He's not necessarily a Terran versus Zerg specialist. His best matchup is Terran versus Terran. However, he's come a long way in his versus Zerg and versus Protoss, so I've got strong hopes for him today. JYJ as well, a bit of a Terran versus Zerg specialist. Hopefully he can do some heavy lifting for his team, especially in this game we're winning against Queen. He went for Overpull, actually. Queen kind of playing ultra safe, expecting an 8 racks or a 10 racks or BBS from JYJ. He knows JYJ likes these really early timing pressure builds and wants to be super safe against that.
Well, he is sacrificing quite a bit of early economy here to get this working, or to have this safety. He'll be grabbing his gas now. I'm assuming making 4 to 6 lings to start the pressure here. But JYJ, he should be in a fantastic spot as long as he keeps his early Marines back and puts a SCV in the wall. He should be able to get that CC up without problem.
Yeah. I mean, JYJ probably playing one of the safer ways of playing this matchup now, and does allow you to be a little bit on the greedy side as Terran. You can cut Marines in this situation. This double SCV scout is just to be ultra safe against something like a 9 pull, or have a little bit of full warning against something like a 4 pull just as it comes in. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be any aggression here from Queen, just ultra safe play. And we see that kind of style from Soulkey a lot, where he doesn't mind playing from behind. He just wants to not die to anything or get put behind too much by losing drones and what have you in the early game. So yeah, nothing too crazy here from either side. Just both players playing kind of as ultra safe as they can. JYJ getting the better end of that stick and taking the gas at a slightly more typical time, around 21 supplies, so he's definitely not really optimizing for any crazy timings here.
Yeah, Queen, I mean, his economy pretty limited at this point. There's not a whole lot of things that you can do with a build like this. You're kind of pigeonholed into doing a couple of different things, and so JYJ, what could be very strong against this is going for an early +1, going into 4 racks. You're just going to have so much mass, and you really don't need to move out right now. Just sit back behind the wall. This is what he's doing right now, is only because those lings were chasing the SCV in the main base, and he knew that he could get away with walking out a little bit with those Marines, maybe contesting that Overlord. But now that the lings are outside of his vision, gonna head back to this natural and might follow up with that 4 racks. It's so difficult to play against when you have a bit of a echo disadvantage in the early game.
Yeah, this is like really typical play here from JYJ. Not because he's playing to his usual strengths. He's actually kind of playing more like a traditional Terran would. He's actually kind of forced Queen into playing ultra safe just because of his reputation, and we see that happen in StarCraft a lot. It's very much like poker in that sense, where you're able to represent ranges of play based on your previous hands or games in this case, and that kind of forces the other player to respect that range. And if they know you're this loose, aggressive player that likes to mix it up with this craziness, they're going to be playing a lot more tight against you. And in this case, that means JYJ can kind of just sit back and do usual Terran timings, but in a way still gain a lead from doing so.
And he for sure has some advantages going forward here. Doesn't mean that Queen's out of it, but it's going to be tough to deal with this Marine explosion. The +1 timing will be quite powerful. Queen kind of getting this macro online now with that additional hatchery, sending a drone down the bottom left as well. Gonna extend himself a little bit thin here as he starts that first group of mutas. And we'll see if he can hold on against the aggression that's coming his way. JYJ could be moving out right now, but he's being super careful. Doesn't want to even try to force sunken colonies right now because he knows what a good spot he's in. As long as he balls up all these Marines and doesn't get counterattacked by Lings or lose that first initial bio ball, he's going to have a lot of momentum going forward.
Right, yeah, literally the only thing that could go wrong for him here was probably moving out too early and then getting surrounded by some speedlings, and that would completely throw away his advantage and put Queen into a favorable position. So he wants to really play as tight and safe as possible and kind of play like Light likes to do a lot of the times, where he kind of gets his upgrades at the more or less usual timings, but he'll have a pretty crisp range timing still and have much stronger bio ball to push out with. This definitely makes sense if you already forced your opponent to play safe with the overpool. Like, you don't need to put pressure on and force any more damage out of the Zerg. You've already kind of gained what you wanted to without needing to risk anything. So everything's kind of working out for JYJ in that regard. We see Queen here trying to play catch up, transferring a bunch of drones over to this on location third in the bottom left natural. That's going to give him a bit of a surge and power spike to his own economy to try and equalize.
Only making 5 mutas initially here, doing what he can with those. You can still one-shot Marines. And so he manages to pick off just a single Marine, but he actually needs to start building a lot of Mutalisks and Lings now to try and overwhelm this bio as it starts to come out. Ooh, loses a Mutalisk here. There's the reinforcements coming now finally. Queen, he's got to crush this initial bio ball if he wants to have any sense of safety here and any reasonable position to try and get into a transition. But JYJ going to continue to reinforce this and make sure that he keeps everything balled up whenever the mutas are coming forward.
Yeah, but he's some good scans from JYJ. Checking the drone count out in the bottom left, and he sees quite a few drones were transferred over there, so he knows that there's not a lot of Zerglings or Mutalisks available to Queen, at least for the time being. So he's being a little bit brazen about coming out to the center of the board. Queen will have a good advantage temporarily until that Bible gets reinforced, which it just did now. We've got 5 medics and almost 1.5 control groups of Marines, and with these reinforcements, almost 2.5 control groups. So eventually JYJ will be able to explode out onto the map. Queen knows that. That's why he's starting to pull Zerglings now. Wants to go for a Soul Key-esque style Mutaling cleanup on L5. But look at these beautiful scans here from JYJ, identifying what's in production. Lots of Zerglings starting to stream out onto the map, so he knows exactly what the plan is from Queen, and we'll be able to just set up shop outside of his rally point, kind of threaten the idea of counterattacks without actually pulling the trigger. And there's a double armory potential mech switch here. This is kind of unorthodox from JYJ to start thinking about this early in the game, but I think he's identified that with Queen's idea of going for this Mutaling style, there is a little bit of breathing room if he doesn't pull the trigger and attacking and just kind of sits here in the center and forces Queen to come to him. There's a good chance that this fast mech switch might catch Queen off guard.
That's wild. Double armory makes not a whole lot of sense at this moment. Ling counter stab coming in right now. That's going to be blocked away by JYJ. Too much in the rally point, plus the bunker is going to be a little bit too strong. tank out already. This is a very strange game from JYJ, but he's about to be surrounded. Huge Ling surround here as the mutas come in, juggling those in and out very well, but he doesn't quite win this fight. My goodness, those Marines are strong. Did he finish that +1 armor as well? It seems like he's still building that right now, so only +1 attack, but that tight formation really worked out well for JYJ.
Yeah, that actually did really work out well. He was trying to exploit the geometry of the map there, keeping his Marines up against the cliff edge to prevent a total surround, denying some surface area from those Zerglings, and now has a bit of a fantasy style tank push build that's going to be coming online soon, trying to get across the map with a couple of siege tanks to start laying siege to the Zerg. He knows lurkers will be on the way soon, as well as a couple of safety sunkens, but with both Valkyries in the air and tanks on the ground, he's now going to put Queen on a big clock. This big 10-minute timing. This is why Valkyries are so strong, because they give you value at 10 minutes rather than 11 minutes like vessels would with the slightly slower radiate timing. And now going to put a lot of pressure onto Queen and really start to force Queen to react in a big way. If he doesn't deal with this right now, he might just straight up die. This is a look at this whole position lurker though.
Oh, he is going to pull the trigger on that. Oh my goodness, sorry, Shun. I was just watching without saying anything because I was completely intent on whether that was going to be pulling the trigger on that or not. Oh, lurkers coming from behind. Those are the lurkers from the third. They end up going down as well. He does get the Valkyrie, though. Dude, this is a great hold from Queen. Oh my goodness. What a play with that whole position lurker.
Wow, I mean, this is just a clinic from Queen. He identified the switch from JYJ and knew that one of the things that Valkyries are terrible at dealing with is lurkers. So even just one singular hold position lurker was able to provide a lot of value and cause disarray in the Terran ranks. And now JYJ kind of relegated to instead trying to break the Zerg and win the game. Seeing if he can do some damage over the third base here in the bottom left. Still some contingency remnants of this Terran force remaining. One singular lurker. He's Scourge, desperately trying to snipe this Valkyrie and deny the point defense available to him, but he knows there's only one lurker that's going to scan and go for it. Can he get a snipe on this Valkyrie? Tries to shuffle it around, does manage to take that out. Some links coming from behind to try and support the mutas in the sky. He will be able to clear this bio ball, and a very commanding position now for Queen as Hive will start to come online in a big way. He will get that Defiler transition fully operational in a moment here, and JYJ has lost his timing.
Yeah, he has lost that timing. Is there going to be that big mech transition that we were expecting with the double armory? Did that actually finish? Did he finish double armory?
I'm not sure.
It's strange because usually armor, when you're going for like biomech, is not that important.
Yeah.
You usually just go for attack.
I thought he would maybe get attack for the Valkyries or something in the air, as well as the attack for the mech units. But I'm not sure if he did those things. I didn't see if the Valkyries had +1 upgrades or not. So we are now going to be seeing a more traditional SK Terran-esque style. But I think he realizes that he can't do a biomech play anymore, and even the Guardian's going to be pressuring JYJ in the natural. There will not be enough available to him to deal with this. He could make Race to help buffer against that if he knew it was occurring, but there's no real easy answer to this, because at the very bare minimal he's going to have to use irradiates to clean this up, and it's not going to be that cost efficient, because then you've got less irradiates for defilers and lurkers out on the field.
Yeah, that's for sure. This is a nice play from Queen, realizing that there are limited resources in the air for JYJ right now, and JYJ is already spread thin. He's not able to come across the map and just start pressuring with the radiate. And this Defiler play, Guardian play, excuse me, is going to drive him back even further, give more space for Queen to get this fourth base online. He's going to have that fourth gas up here pretty quickly, and Queen getting out of control right now. Going to get some big damage in this natural and sending some Guardians over here as well to try and deny that. Almost gets a kill on one of those vessels at the same time, hitting so many different locations at the same time as well. This is great play from Queen, pulling JYJ apart right now with a bunch of different multitasking happening all over the map.
Yeah. This is he's going to load up some dropships and hope for a bit of a Hail Mary, a bit of a lot of dropship situation. Pretty much semi all in, if not all in right now. JYJ completely in disarray, having the third base set up being shut down as well. This 12 o'clock dead zone providing ample opportunity for the Guardians to harass both the natural and the 12 o'clock third. JYJ is going to really struggle cleaning that up efficiently. He might just even not bother irradiating those Guardians and instead just make a couple of Wraiths to deal with those. But if he does irradiate them, then he's going to be really lacking on the utility available. It does seem like he is wanting to go for the irradiate route, which is not optimal because it's not going to kill all of the Guardians, and it's going to provide limited utility available for him to put pressure onto Queen as well. So I think JYJ is starting to fall apart a little bit here. And Queen, meanwhile, going to be getting a fourth gas online. This fourth dropship hit squad has to get value for JYJ. He's essentially all in with this attack, trying to do damage to Queen's infrastructure.
He's going for it. Dark Swarm right on top of where everything is unloading. Some Scourge are going to come in. Plague, huge on top of a lot of this Bioforce as well. Going to continue to consume. Try to throw down some more Dark Swarms here. Protect some of these drones in the mineral line. A lot of drones going down in that main mineral line right now, and there are a few fire bats. Oh my god, but Lings making their way into the main base, killing a bunch of buildings here. The counterattack doing quite a bit of damage. These Marines are trying to find ways to run through the Dark Swarm and actually continue to get damage, but Lurkers are here now, and Lurkers should be able to shut this down. At the same time, Army back at home has been cleaned up. A couple of Lurkers out in the front, though, with the Defiler can cause a significant threat. Lings cleaning up everything here in the main. Was this enough damage? I don't necessarily think so, Shun, and this is going to cause a serious ruckus. JYJ did not abandon this natural with all of his SCVs, and so running up that ramp, he's going to lose everything if he tries to run now.
Yeah, even a couple of Guardians still left alive because of the option of utilizing Irradiate instead of a couple of Wraiths to deal with those. So really unfortunate for JYJ. He has no real answers to what Queen is going for. He has to tap out. GG is caught, and the Zerg squad already eliminating one of the specialists in the Terran dugout. That's a big problem for Team Terran right now, Sam.
Absolutely, that is a huge blow. Zerg off to a great start here, game number 1. All right, YSC being sent out for game number 2. Metropolis, PVZ. This should be fun, but not sure what kind of fight YSC can put up against Queen, who's looking to be on point today.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking a little bit off air about how it's possible Mini could go on a little bit of a rampage this evening and kind of do what Sharp did in previous week. Would be necessary probably for Protoss to get points on the board. Now going to be throwing out YSC, maybe a sacrificial lamb, or maybe YSC's got something special planned with Queen in mind on this map. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, this map can be good for Protoss if you play it well. I'm hoping that YSC is going to be playing super confident today with a gateway rather than a forge. It looks like he is, so that's potentially a good start.
It's pretty hard to break this third base, and it's so close to the natural or YSC. Can kind of lock down on 3 bases, really power up, and then come out in a strong way. Hard for Zerg to deny that, to stop that from occurring. So if that's the type of style YSC has in mind, might be a strong way to play this one out, but for now, Wayne getting his Overpool online, and will be getting his hatchery as well without any blocks. So things going smoothly so far for Queen as well.
It is a double-edged sword though, this map. It does actually favor Zerg by quite a few percentile points, about 55 to 45. That third base actually helps Zerg out a lot because you can just, you know, block that ramp with a few Hydras and have a really effective Sim City without even relying on buildings or even morphing a Lurker Egg. It's such a tight little choke with that mineral chunk blocking the ramp and helping out a little bit. So yeah, that third base can definitely go both ways and making it very difficult for the Protoss player to do any economic damage to the Zerg as well. We'll have to see if YSC can find any damage in this game. Seems like Queen's going to be playing ultra safe, bit of a Zealot styles in the player Zealot, making 4 Zerglings without any scouting drone, kind of compensating by making an extra pair of Zerglings to be safe against the potential Zealot first. And you're kind of paying for that extra Zergling by having that extra drone mining early game. So I definitely like this style from Queen. It should line up nicely with what YSC is doing. He's got a good spread of his overlords as well to try and intercept Zealots that are trying to come out onto interesting paths onto the map and avoid the Zerglings directly.
Spreading out here and watching for those forces, but so far YSC just kind of hanging out back at home. He's gonna go for a gas and get a cyber core online before ever looking to a forge, so really relying on these early zealots for that defense. Not wanting to send them out here just yet. Queen gonna come across for a little bit of a skill check, it looks like. See if he can get in there and deal any damage to YSC as he starts to get this online. YSC already has the wall set up, but he's a ways away from building this cannon, so it could be a bit of trouble here for YSC.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing going for him is that it's cross map, so there's a few extra seconds added on for these Zerglings to reinforce. A little bit of a poking at this gateway, chipping away at the shields, trying to bait that Zealot into coming out of the wall and opening himself up for a run by. He knows this cannon's going to be quite a ways away. He should probably just sit here and chip away at the gateway completely rather than continually run around with the Zerglings. Seems like YSC finally poking out just a little bit with that Zealot, but it was more than enough to now snipe the scouting probe. That little bit of distraction in controlling the Zealot to force away those Zerglings gave Queen a tiny window to surround and kill that scouting probe, now putting YSC in the dark.
He's in the dark here, but he will have that Corsair online pretty soon. Has a cannon coming up here as well, and again, this being cross map, we'll have some time to react to whatever's coming out of Queen, and it looks like more of a standard build here for Queen as he continues to add on drones and is getting into a Spire now. Stargate about to finish up, and he'll go ahead and get that information. YSC, I mean, nothing bad has happened to his economy at all so far. He's been able to play his game exactly, and he managed to get away with this cybernetics core before Forge play, which can be a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, sometimes you'll even see that deep setup in the natural expansion, which can be ultra risky to go for something like that. He's not done that in this variant. I think he cut Zealot production for just a little bit here, which will slow down his potential 5 Zealot move out timing, which would have been potent against Queen. So Queen's been able to sit back and just macro up a pretty crazy amount of drones back at home. Corsair's going to come in and confirm all of this lava dedication to drones and what have you. Finally starting to make that critical tech of the Citadel Dune, getting those leg enhancements online as well as that Templar Archives. I mean, this is still lining up okay for YSC. It's just that Queen has been able to drone up pretty significantly in this time.
For sure, both players really getting to their macro, with YSC playing such a passive style with his gateway first. Wow, he's actually going to find this Overlord as well, so getting 2 Overlords here is quite nice. Yeah, it's going to be quite annoying for Queen, but I don't think it'll go any further than that. Just the 2 kills and then running out as soon as possible with this Corsair is going to be best. There's the Scourge spawning, so he knows it's time to get out of dodge. Queen has his second gas online, but no third gas. Can he actually catch this Corsair, making his way back? Oh my goodness. Nice turn there from YSC.
Yeah. For a second, he kind of stopped the Corsair. I don't know if that was intentional to try and avoid the path of the intercepting Scourge. He's trying to get back to the safety. They're on an intercept vector right now. Can't get back to the safety of the cannon. Has to reroute that Corsair and try and circle the airport for a delayed landing here. Can Queen get the kill move on that Corsair? And he does take out that critical air fleet unit, and now suddenly YSC potentially in a little bit of trouble here. There's 2 gases available to Queen, so if he wanted to, could go for a bit of an Ogre Zerg gamer style, producing Mutalisks as well as Scourge in the sky, and take advantage of this lack of anti-air now.
There are still 4 Corsairs, and there's going to be a 5th here in a moment. Not sure if Queen is fully committed to something like this, but as long as the Corsairs can't come out and engage with him fully, it's going to be useful to have these Mutalisks in the air to actually deal with those Zealots. Finally, another Corsair pops out here, so 5+1 Corsairs can two-shot these Scourge and make a real problem for Queen. These Zealots are going to come right in here. Great Sim City, though. You're not getting in there at all.
Yeah, I mean, he could pull the trigger on that, but he would risk losing every single Zealot. If he commits to surrounding the Sunken, a drone drill can come out, and you're in a world of problem. One of the things I'd like to point out quickly is that you don't need an Overlord out on the map or a Zergling to drone drill out. You can use this little mineral block on your ramp of your third to easily drill and slide over drones on top of those incoming Zealots and make it a bit of a nightmare for the Protoss if he does pull the trigger on committing to those attacks to essentially keep all those Zealots dead in the water for the Mutalisks to clean up. So definitely don't want to go for something like that. Now coming in to do some damage to the economy of the Protoss player. There is a cannon warping in 6 Corsairs in the skies, but there's a lot of Scourge joining them as well. Needs to stay in the safety range of those cannons the entire time. The air traffic control of those Protoss forces screaming at the Corsair fleet to stay at the airport.
Some Templars are being cycled out now, and Storm should be in production. Gonna hide one Templar there over top of that gas geyser. Might come into play if the Scourge and Mutalisk make their way into the main, and I think things have changed up a little bit with the metagame in ZVP, where actually storming the Scourge is the most beneficial thing to do in these type of situations. It was for a long time players just trying to storm onto the Mutas, but if you get rid of all the Scourge, then the Mutas really don't have much potency against this Corsair fleet, so a lot of times we're seeing him aim for those Scourge, and they just die so quickly when the Storm actually gets leveraged on top of them.
I mean, you only need to really get the Scourge under the Storm for like 0.3 seconds or something to kill them. It's only like 25 HP, and the Storm does 110 damage over 2.5 seconds, so essentially the Scourge instantly die under the blanket of the Storm. Very rarely one might just barely slide out if it's on the edge of that storm and it was already on escape trajectory, but most of the time those Scourge are instantly dying to that spell. So definitely a really potent way of guaranteeing damage and taking away a lot of the sting and the anti-air effectiveness of that fleet in the Zerg. Now going to be sharking around for a Templar kill. Can he get it? He's trying to isolate, gets the Templar. Now trying to chase and zone these Corsair fleets away. Didn't get a good storm off. You need to kind of preemptively storm the Zerg when they come in for attempts like this, or not only will you lose the Templar without providing value, but you're not going to be weakening the potential of the Zerg's air fleet as well. So definitely in a commanding position is Queen, but why is he going to try and press with his third base timing and force Queen to come to him?
Yeah, a bit of a mistake there. Understandable, though. Trying to keep those Corsairs alive. Could have cast a Storm on the Scourge and completely knocked that Mutalisk attack out. It just one foul blow, but oh, he's coming out with a Scourge now. Wait a second, the Corsairs come out here. A little bit ill-advised there for YSC to start losing Corsairs like that. It's going to take away a lot of the might from this air army. And now, Queen can start to aggressively push forward here, looking for little pickups. He gets a Dragoon that happens to walk down that ramp. That Dragoon taking a page out of the medic book here. Another one coming over onto this left-hand side. He's going to be losing his life as well if he doesn't make it back to the bulk of this army. And in fact, he is going to target that down. One Storm goes down, but great dodge there from Queen, backing up after getting that single kill. Every one of these Dragoon kills is very important.
Yeah, it's just like picking off a tank in Terran versus Protoss. It's such a big deal to kind of slowly whittle down the death ball of the Protoss before it gets out of hand, and eventually you can start cutting off the head of the snake. And I mean, Queen's idea here is pretty solid. He's going to try and get this base up in the top right. I think this Zealot hit squad might be enough to deal with that, though. If he distracts Queen at the third base while pressuring this top right, he might be able to kill that base. I'm not sure this attack's going to be super successful, but as long as he trades well, YSC could be in a good position here. Just needs to skirmish with the Zerg and prevent him from being able to reinforce this fourth base in the top right. And this Zealot hit squad should be able to get a cancel on that hatchery, which is a really big deal, isolating Queen on only 3 bases worth of economy while his own third base has just been set up. So YSC actually has a pretty good spot here.
Yeah, that wasn't bad at all. Queen definitely could have made a lurker egg on that ramp if he had been paying close attention there. But of course, the simultaneous attack from YSC, as well as doing that run by the top right, works out fantastically. Now Queen gonna try to get on top of this high ground in force, gonna bring a lot of lurkers over here. Of course, just gonna run away for now, try to bide that time. Queen bringing a drone over to top right, gonna try to re-secure this, but maybe opening himself up to a counter attack. There may be a slight window here with all the lurkers in top right. That natural is looking a little bit juicy.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused that Queen has brought this many forces to clean up the top right. This is one of the mistakes we see a lot of StarCraft players make, no matter how strong they are. They always commit too many forces to cleaning up, and then it leaves them barren elsewhere on the board. And now there's a massive counterattack. Does have this lurker egg block on the ramp to buy time. These Zerg forces might still be able to get down here and do a wraparound and eventually get a kill move on YSC's army here. So definitely not all hope is lost here for Queen. Trying to take a fourth base now in the bottom left, forcing YSC to play whack-a-mole if he wants to keep Queen on 3 bases. He is potentially going to start getting on his ramp, but now comes the wraparound. Is it in time before the critical forces of the Protoss are able to get to the high ground advantage? The high Templars are all in the low ground, starting to be targeted down. Can he blanket the storms? It's only 1 or 2 criticals, and those are pretty good storms, though. Can he get enough of these Templar kills? It looks like the answer is yes. He will be cleaning up the majority of these Protoss forces before any critical damage is done, and he has successfully cut off the head of the YSC snake in this game and prevented any craziness from occurring. He will get this 4th base online now, and Queen will be able to more comfortably navigate from the mid to late game.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of what YSC did there, going for the 3rd base rather than the natural. I get that you're afraid to maybe get surrounded as you're going into that natural, but you can't be delayed like that. You can actually get on top of the hatcheries right away, and he wasn't able to get on top of anything there. Stuck at the bottom of the ramp for way too long. Enough time for Queen to wrap around and actually completely surround and kill that force. Now YSC is in a desperate situation. His entire army's been deleted, and here's Queen pushing in towards his natural, man. This is going to be a scary moment. Here's the lurkers run forward, going to be burrowing right up on top of this army. It's usually not a very good trade for the Zerg player when they try to do stuff like this, but Queen just has so much momentum right now. He's going to be shoving YSC all the way back, and there's only a couple of storms available to try and stop this.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, Sad. He killed so many of those Templars that there's not much left in reserve. YSC going for a Hail Mary, 6 o'clock, 4th. Already been scouted out by this singular lurker. Now the rest of the Zerg forces is going to be making their way downtown to clean that up. He's going to have to cancel all those buildings that we yet to finish, and that will really slow things down here for YSC. He's lost a lot of his own momentum, and Queen will start powering up on these 4th bases and just play keep away from YSC and not allow him to take a 4th base easily. Eventually the Protoss will dry up on this main and natural in the next minute or 2, and that will leave him on just 1 base worth of mining. And as you guys know, with the way Zerg saturates their bases, usually their main and natural become mined out a little bit slower. So you've got this window where you've got 4 bases of economy versus only 1, and you can use that power spike to really start to overwhelm the Protoss.
Well, YSC sneaks a probe to top right. Can he start to put a bunch of cannons up on that high ground? So far, not able to do so. In fact, he's just going to lose that probe, it seems like. Drop down into bottom left. Couple DTs, couple of Zealots going to be sent down there, but Overlord speed is done, and Hydras are going to be chasing after that. Should be able to deal with it without losing anything. In the meantime, YSC going to pull the trigger on a big attack. Where is he headed with this army? It looks like he's finally going to go for the natural. Ooh, picks up that DT and just dies immediately. Queen backing up into the natural here. He does have a pretty good setup, but this is all stacked very tightly on top of each other. The storms could be absolutely massive. Can YSC do it with this attack? He's diving in towards this natural. It's a do or die moment here for YSC. Queen, his army is kind of running around in bottom left. Not a lot of stuff here at the natural to try and surround this army. YSC has a good path of retreat if he decides to turn around here. He's kept all of his observers alive. 3 observers sitting over top of this army, and the Dragoons are pushing in further and further. Here comes the Hydralisk now, gonna flank this. Oh, he's gonna get the Templar before it can throw in a storm. Another Templar goes down without casting a storm. A big mistake there for YSC. Should have been able to throw down storms on both of those groups of Hydras. Cannot make an Archon there either. Bit of miscontrol here for YSC. He is macroing behind this though, bringing forward another big group of Zealot. High Templar getting on top of this rally point. He's almost breaking this, and it's so close.
Yeah, it's very close. Pretty much semi all in with this attack. He has to do critical damage to maintain any kind of playable situation in this game. Trying to break this natural critically. He's got a few Dragoons remaining and 1 or 2 storms potentially, and a stream of High Templars trying to get to the front line to help reinforce this army, but they are going to be intercepted by the Hydras and prevented from getting to that critical front line to help buffer against the Zerg squads that are coming out from these hatchery production lines. But somehow the Dragoons have been able to hold things up for the time being, with some reinforcement rounds of Zealots now being thrown into the mix to try and get there quicker than these Templars can chug along, and they also have no worries about being intercepted. YSC has a real big potential to quickly kill Queen before he can get off the ground right now. He's sabotaging the rocket liftoff sequence that Queen was about to achieve, and he might have just done it. There's now be a bit of a chain reaction where the Zerg can't muster enough forces to leverage against this Protoss force in this tight little choke. He's got units streaming from multiple locations. This is the biggest weakness of Zerg, is it's very difficult to get your units together if the rally point is compromised. It's now going to be kind of struggling to bring forces to bear against YSC, who's already killed the natural, now making his way into the main base. Has YSC done it? It looks like he potentially has broken Queen here in a bit of a crazy upset. These 1-2 punches have really paid off in a big way, distracting him in the bottom left, pulling the majority of Queen's army out of position, and then going for these kill moves has definitely paid off, and Protoss takes out a Zerg player. We could be seeing a crazy upset of a week of KCM, Sam.
Okay, Sharp takes the stage here against YSC. Sharp, the king of KCM last week. Absolute domination from him. What we love to see. Sharp now spawning in the top left on Polestar. Let's see what he can do. I mean, he caught lightning in a bottle there last week in one of the strongest lineups we've seen, but can lightning strike twice? Shouldn't. That's what I'm wondering right now. Can he take it all the way?
I mean, maybe. It's going to be a bit of a tall order for him in the regard that now we're playing against a YSC that's got a bit of mojo, a bit of momentum, and feeling good about himself to be able to take out Queen in that game number 2. We see a reasonably timed gas here from Sharp. Not going to be going for anything like a bunker expand or anything too cheeky. Just wants to play as middle of the road as possible. This is technically Sharp's worst matchup, and YSC is a little bit better in Protoss versus Terran than he is Protoss versus Zerg, so maybe Sharp's going to do some heavy lifting to keep Terran's hopes high. YSC could be throwing a wrench in the works here today. If he somehow takes out Sharp as well, I mean, I have no idea how to call the rest of this week at KCM. We've already seen a pretty big upset with him being able to take out Queen.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen in KCM, man. It's just that type of tournament with best of ones all the way through. Anything can happen, and YSC could indeed take out Sharp, bring his kind of lackluster Protoss squad that much closer to a victory. We saw before we started the cast, the audience was rating the likelihood of each squad winning, and it was something like 2% voted for Protoss to win this week. It was crazy low, Shun, but I mean, that would be an amazing upset.
Was it 6%? I think it was 74 Zerg, 6 Protoss, and 20 Terran, I believe.
Still nasty low percentage. Maybe that's just shuttle, and everybody's looking at shuttle like, oh, this guy always loses.
Sometimes I think Shuttle's a master troll when he's doing it on purpose, saying it's almost like he's trying to hide a grin every time it happens. I've seen him on stream, man. It almost looks like he's trying to hide laughing whenever he throws games, like he's having a good time trolling the pro players and knows that it provides a lot of entertainment for the viewers.
I don't know if I would go that far, but yeah, he does lose some seemingly unlosable games. He definitely throws a lot in Pro League and makes a lot of mistakes and gets called out for it by the other pro players. You can see those videos on Jinjin's channel. There's so many examples of it.
This is a great pickup here from Sharp, trying to body block this Dragoon quite significantly. Marine still getting some shots off that Ghost Rifle. Needs to not lose the Vulture, though. Does manage to save that. Good little mini game there from both sides, trying to isolate and kill that Vulture. Unsuccessful in doing so, but also saves the Dragoon. So both sides kind of avoiding total disaster. You see those kinds of crazy, insane trades at the pro level because they've had that situation occur so much in their ladder games and practice. But yeah, the most recent Jinjin video of Shuttle was kind of hilarious. He lost, like, I don't know, 7 or 8 probes to a mine from a vulture drop that he could have easily defended. And in the conversation afterwards, I think Rush or someone was asking him, like, did you not see the mines? And Shuttle's like, no, I saw the mines. And he was like, oh, that was with you seeing the mines. In kind of disbelief there. Shuttle seemingly able to throw the most craziest of games. But he's like hiding a grin while he's doing it. I have to wonder if he's actually trolling.
It's a possibility. Now, Sharp coming across the map with a good number of Marines that tank in tow. Vulture rallies making their way forward. This is generally just to throw down mines, but with the skill we've seen from Sharp, with this push and his mine laying and his control in these small the early game fights, he might actually be able to get some big damage here. Gotta be very careful as YSC coming right up to this front, gonna start to target down some of these vultures. One of those Dragoons is very low, going after a probe or two. He does get the mine down, secondary mine gets targeted, third mine gets thrown down here as well. Can he actually get one of those connections? A fourth mine does drop. And the tank is still here. Vulture's going to slip by on the high side, see if they can get some more kills. Tank goes down. Ooh, big mistake there from Sharp. Really needed to keep that tank alive to keep this pressure going.
Yeah, he's only killed a few of these probes as well. This is a really nice hold from YSC. Like, he could have taken a lot more damage there. He kind of got away with murder a little bit. That Dragoon was on red HP still from earlier, whereas the Vulture got repaired up. So that hold was not as easy as it would usually be. If it was four full HP Dragoons, maybe even Sharp wouldn't have committed so heavily to that tank squeezing in and trying to finish off the remainder while the Vultures ravage the probe line. So this is kind of going YSC's way now. Could be clearing out these mines, taking a quick third base, and now Sharp will have to go back to the drawing board and how he wants to deal with the rest of this game. I mean, it's not over for Sharp. He actually did do a significant amount of damage and only really lost 1 tank for it, so he has a really strong fighting chance still.
Oh, for sure. He still has a good fighting chance. It's just a little bit sad to lose that first tank. Usually you'd be throwing down those mines at the front, not really going for probes and then backing away with the tank, keeping that alive and getting some more mines over at these other bases. But since he committed so heavily in there, YSC was able to extract 1 probe from the main base with that shuttle, landed over at that third, get the Nexus up really nice and early. And so he's got a good macro engine rolling here, and Sharp's initial pressure, whatever probe damage it did, I don't know if it was worth it for the health of this game for Sharp.
Yeah, I'm not too sure it was the most optimal route for him to go down, but it did do some damage. Like, he's still in the game. If he had killed no probes at all or didn't deny any mining time, then he would be in a lot of trouble. But tries to thread the needle with this observer, unsuccessful in doing so. Does identify 4 factories coming online, so he knows this isn't going to be a heavy tech mech style at the very least. Most likely going to be either 4 factory pressure or a 5 fact build. from Sharp here in this game. He knows there's a strong likelihood of Reavers. That's why he had so many units just chilling in the main base with some mines laid on the periphery. He's waiting for that really fast Reaver shuttle coming into the main base, but why is he going to be playing a little bit more greedy and tentative instead, trying to squeeze out as much economy as possible with this breathing room and trying to race ahead in the ebb and flow of the game, and will instead probably be utilizing that Reaver as slowdown for the Terran push timing that will most likely be coming in the next minute or two.
Could be that push, could also be a third base. Pretty difficult to break open this third on this map. Polestar. That base is going to be easily secured by Sharp if that's the way he wants to go with this. Trying to slip out with some mines and get a little information on what YSC is up to. Running up here to the high ground, not going to find a probe there, but it's pretty clear that YSC is looking to take that fourth here pretty soon.
Yeah, he's just not going to be taking it crazily greedily. Like 9 minutes is considered greedy, 10 minutes a bit more greedy, but still on the standard side. 11 minutes is kind of the cutoff point. If you take it any later than that, you're kind of hindering your economy and your growth potential. As we can see, Sharp wants to move out super early. It's that push timing I was expecting from him, wanting to put the pressure on to YSC and not allow him to allocate resources to a Nexus right now, and instead keep those gateways churning out units non-stop. It's kind of like pressuring a Zerg in Terran vs Zerg early game. You just don't want them to get away with total craziness. If they do throw down that 400 middle Nexus, you want to have a window to punish that. So he's kind of like threatening the idea of a push here, but really will be just expanding behind this and slowing down the timings of this Nexus being able to come out from YSC as a result.
Oh, he's been able to slip that Vulture down in the bottom corner. He will get rid of that though. YSC being denied that fourth base for a little bit longer. Sharp getting his third started here. No push from him just yet. Looks like he will be taking that third base and going up to about 6 factory, maybe 7 factory after getting that online. YSC moving through the middle of the map, clearing out mines here and there, but he's yet to send the probe over to that fourth base. In fact, might be trying to take it in the center right, but he still hasn't cleared that mine over there as well. So having a hard time getting this fourth base online. Sharp's done a good job of slowing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, he's not actually committed much to this attack, but he has delayed the fourth. Even before this third is going to be going up, will that fourth not be going down? Which is really strange. Like, YSC has to take this fourth about now. There's the probe intercepted as well. That's a big win for Sharp, shutting down that probe, trying to expand. This is the 11-minute mark that we were talking about. Needs to get... Oh, he can! It's the shuttle, and the Reavers both go down. Okay, the win percentage for YSC has just plummeted, saying this is an extremely Sharp favored game going forward. I mean, YSC probably has to double expand now to make up this deficit.
Yeah, this is how you see a lot of really strong players take care of Protoss. Strong Terran players is just never allowing them to get their probes to these bases. They're just always active with those vultures, flying in and just sniping down those probes and slowing down these bases, and then getting way ahead of the curve and hitting you with that big timing. It's not about the big timing necessarily, it's more about slowing down this Protoss player, and Sharp's done a great job of slowing him down so far. He's got his third base at not that early of a time. This is like an 11-minute third. Pretty standard stuff for Sharp, but he's just done such a good job of slowing YSC and really pumping up this economy now. Gonna be getting geared up for a massive push here soon.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, everything is relative, saying, so even if your own expansion is at a normal timing, as long as you're slowing down theirs, eventually you'll be ahead of that curve. We do see that double expansion from YSC, like as is suspected. Has got some packs of Dragoons heading around the map, just clearing out mines right now and slowing down the engine of Sharp from getting too much vision and safety in this game. Wants to kind of obfuscate the exact plan of action here. YSC acting like he's going to be playing aggressive on 4 bases, and really he wants to play super passive on 5. And he just wants to slow down Sharp from moving out. Sharp will not want to move out in this cross-map position about his flanks being covered by at least spotter mines, and ideally much denser flanks of mines to cover his units and his rally point from being able to keep reinforcing the front line. So for the time being, we'll just rely on these Vulture raiding parties to do some damage. There's a few cannons coming online at the 3 o'clock, but only one of them finished up right now. Maybe you can get in there with these Vultures and kill a few probes.
Yeah, this is going to be some good damage here. Second cannon finishing up right now, but it's a little bit late. 5 probes do escape. They will be sent back to work here in a moment. But YSC, it seems like Sharp's expecting YSC to dive in on him. I don't see a science facility. There's the starport finally finishing up. So his upgrades are quite late. He's just focusing primarily on army and expecting YSC to make a move. So far, YSC's just been kind of hanging back, but it looks like he's gearing up for something now. He's got the storm available, and so he could still swing this fight. It really depends on the positioning here for Sharp. And right now, the positioning is looking very good. Nice spread on these tanks. Oh my god, this could be catastrophic for YSC. Gonna drop on top of a lot of these tanks. Get some good mine connection there. There's a good storm. Oh my goodness, some great storms on that right-hand side. YSC busting through this with ease.
Man, has YSC been taking coaching from Best or something? Because that was insane. Saying that was like really high-level gateway man execution. A big mistake there from Sharp, not to scan and identify exactly the positioning of the Protoss forces or cover his flank with enough mines to give himself a few extra seconds to pre-split those tanks up and get to better positions. And in a state of panic, lost a lot. And now the pressure is really on Sharp. He needs to take a 4th base of his own, and YSC is going to be boxing him out from being able to achieve something like that, as well as siphoning off more and more of these valuable Terran units. Well, back at home, he's producing a big army off of so many gateways and 5 bases worth economy to speak of. It's only the 15th minute mark. He's got the main and natural for at least another minute or 2 as well. This is 5 base Protoss versus 3 base Terran. Sharp in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, once you lose that first push, especially when you're heavily committed to this +1 style, you're not getting into very quick upgrades. It's just so tough to keep up with the Protoss after a fight like that. I really wasn't expecting it to go that way. Sharp seemed to have a pretty good siege timing and a long, splayed out line of tanks for YSC to dive in on. I thought that was going to go way more Sharp favored, but YSC with the big storms and of course the mine drags there played a huge role. And Sharp, I mean, he's just stuffed right back into his natural, sitting here hoping to take a 4th soon, but afraid to do so because if he loses one more round of tanks, he's just going to be out of this game.
Yeah, he does have one last hurrah. The one thing going for Sharp is that this is only one rally point of Protoss as well, so he's not too panicked in going on the offensive anytime soon. He just needs to secure this lane to the 12 o'clock and secure that base for himself to keep a lifeline in this game. He could go on the offensive, but with the 6 and 3 o'clock being the bases of choice of YSC, there's not too much pressure on Sharp in the way of additional rally points starting to sprout out from the other corners of the map. He's going to start building his CC at his 3rd now to float over. I mean, still Sharp in a bit of a trouble, but has got a healthy count of supply to hold the lines against the Protoss force, so he shouldn't die by any stretch of the imagination. Does snipe some of these observers as well with these critical Goliath units, and trying to keep YSC at bay, but eventually more and more forces will be mustered by the Protoss to go for round 2 here. As soon as Sharp starts to shark around the map for that 4th base time, he's going to be much more tentative for how he takes that. Setting up mines to cover his flanks and pre-splitting his tanks is going to be necessary.
That's a lot of shuttles, man. 9 shuttles I see in that rally point. My goodness, that is a tank killing force.
Yeah,
If I've ever seen one. Just dropping all those zealots and Templar storms on top of those tank lines is going to be devastating. Double upgrade on the way here for Sharp. Should have that +2 coming online here shortly, but might be able to hit a timing here. YSC maybe can get in there right before that gets set up. Sharp still not taking this next base, man. He is so tentative. at pushing for that 12 o'clock, where YSC's just been kind of sitting back and macroing up during all this. Is he going to dive right in here, though? He hasn't even moved to take the 4th base. I think YSC would be best served waiting for Sharp to make this move. Try to take that base and then dive on top of him.
Yeah, this might actually help Sharp out a little bit in knowing how to leverage his army to counteract this, but there's still a lot of forces. Defense measures on the periphery, tank trying to cover the lines. Here come the shuttles trying to dive bomb so many zealots into this minefield. So many vultures getting exploded. Another beautiful storm on top of that tank line as well in the back. They are definitely going to go down, and unfortunately, this might be the last writing on the wall here for Sharp. And a beautiful pullback there from YSC. Like, if he continued to commit to this force, he actually would have started to trade in a little bit too inefficiently. A few straggler dragoons will be taken out, but all YSC needs to do right now is just maintain the game state and stop Sharp from getting this 4th base set up, and he will get a game-winning move while also taking his own base to kind of replenish the main and natural being mined out. There was a bit of a drop or a vulture raiding party at the 3 o'clock base, it seems, with some cannons being taken. Unless he took out the cannons himself, that's also possible to optimize mining. That's actually probably likely. He wanted to kill his own cannons to make it easier to mine the gas and the minerals and optimize his economy, intercepting vultures, trying to kill a few of these probes to try and make up some of the deficit. But still, I think this is going to be really difficult now for Sharp to secure this 4th base and his chances at winning.
He's floated that 4th base once again over to 12 o'clock. Still not able to get over there. Would be awesome if YSC could run up there with his dragoons and gun that CC down. That might be a killing blow, but hasn't moved in that direction here just yet. He's actually going to send something over towards that now. He sees it. This is opportunity to actually to go for that. I think that Sharp's going to pull back his CC now, get that over the high ground so that it gives himself another chance. 19 minutes in, though. 19 minutes, no 4th base. Sharp is completely mined out of his natural.
Yeah, it's 1 base Protoss versus 3 base Protoss, but he's about to be 4 base again. He's got a few minerals left in his natural that aren't being mined optimally. So for now, I'm just going to call that 3 versus 1. But that's soon going to become 4 versus 1. That is not something that Terran can handle. They do need 2 mining bases in Terran versus Protoss to feel comfortable. He's going to attempt to take this 9 o'clock as a bit of a consolation prize to kind of buffer and hold the line right now. YSC not in position to shut that down, so this tricky move from Sharp actually might pay off. These vulture raiding parties at this new base being set up in the natural 3rd in the top right has taken a lot of the attention away from YSC and identifying that this 9 o'clock is going up for Sharp, and he's got the shuttles ready to dive in. There's so many tanks waiting here. Can he get a massive poor man's recall on top of this force and bowl Sharp over? It's going to be a bit of a Hail Mary attempt here from YSC, but it could be a game-winning move.
Oh, the Goliaths are being pulled down right as those shuttles, I think, are ready to come in. Well, I see it going up to top right, clearing that out so that he can get his Nexus online. Sharp, does he have enough turrets over there or Goliaths to keep that center left alive? He really does need a good amount of anti-air at that location. I just don't think he has it right now. Some turrets are being added, and there's a pretty good tank spread, but those shuttles could easily shut down that base very quickly with a few storms.
Yeah, it seems like he's sharking around with them and thinking better of it. Doesn't want to put all of his eggs into one basket and kind of slow the game down a little bit. Think about taking the top right. Yeah, he's going to take the top right and start setting up an additional rally point up there. That's definitely another good option here for YSC, and try and force Sharp to come to him. Sharp inversely could start trying to split the map vertically, or just take 12 o'clock if he wants to play aggressive and push into the top right horizontal axis. That's another option. But here comes a big drop on top of this natural 3rd of Sharp. Storm coming down the low ground as well. The SCV train is starting to be pulled, but they will die to the storms of YSC. So many SCVs falling. He can't really attack down into that tank line on the low ground, but that's a lot of damage to the economy of Sharp with those storms. YSC putting the pressure on now and kind of doing damage indirectly to Sharp, ignoring that 9 o'clock base for now, and instead trying to hit Sharp where he was weakest, which was this defensive position at the 3rd base. And YSC definitely getting a lot of damage done.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of damage. So many SCVs went down at that base. It's way oversaturated because of the way this game has gone so far, the main and natural. All those SCVs have been brought over here to the 3rd and 4th base, and so able to absolutely ravage that economy. Drop again over here, gonna storm these SCVs instead of storming and dropping that center left. I mean, getting so much value out of these drops over here towards this 3rd base. I mean, this is doing exactly what it should, slowing down Sharp massively and giving YSC an even bigger advantage in this game. He's just running away with it, having this extra rally point in the top right and a massive bank to spend.
Yeah, I really like this decision making from YSC. It's honestly demonstrating very good game theory and trying to go for a safer routes of play to guarantee. Oh, those are pretty good mine connections. These are kind of the things that Sharp needs to keep ascertaining over and over again as time progresses to equalize the position. Right now, he's currently 70 supply behind and trying to go on a big push to get some massive damage done. Also got another base sprouting up in the 3rd base location in the bottom left quadrant. If Sharp can somehow start knocking out some of these bases of YSC, as well as preventing this rally point being set up in the top right, that's definitely a kill move from Sharp, but will he have enough forces to leverage to do so? There are a lot of probes out on the map, so even though YSC is maxed out right now, there might not be too much more army available for YSC. He's going for a massive drop, though, at the 9 o'clock, trying to cripple the economy yet again of Sharp. Could be seeing a lot more beautiful storms on top of those SCVs as they try and get away. So far, so good for Sharp, avoiding critical damage by pulling those quickly, but there is now this massive Terran force starting to encroach on this rally point in the top right. He's going for that kill move I thought he would go for, knocking out this natural 3rd in the top right, as well as trying to kill off this rally point that's being set up there. And that will definitely give a lot of chances for Sharp, but having this 9 o'clock shut down does dampen his chances.
Yeah, he's got hardly any income at this point. 115 supply, trying to break up on a high ground. You need a massive army to make this work. He loses the science vessel as well. You can see the science vessels are pretty useful, throwing down those D-Matrix, kind of negating the storm, but there's the follow-up storms to just annihilate a lot of these tanks. And yeah, maybe Sharp can clean this out with all of the tanks, but he's gonna lose a lot of SCVs. Good God, so many SCVs going down. He's got to have like no SCVs left, maybe 6 SCVs left, I'm guessing. Yeah, there's almost none on the map.
Yeah, but he's basically lost his entire economy. Like, he needs to have the best trades of his life with this army to win this game. His win percentage is probably sub 1% at this point, so tapping out is definitely a good idea from Sharp. Really well played from YSC, isolating the win condition after kind of allowing Sharp to get away with that 4th base at the 9 o'clock. Really stellar Protoss versus Terran understanding. And look at that smile on the face of KCM. He kind of knows that something special is happening right now. YSC just got 2 kills in the row against the likes of Queen and Sharp. Anything is possible in the cards of this great game that is Starcraft, Sam.
All right, YSC. Maybe took a little bit of offense to that 6% win ratio, that poll from the community at the beginning of the this week, saying that only 6% chance that the Protoss would win this week. He's decided to alter those fates and change those numbers himself, and has brought his squad into a really good spot. But now it's time for the big dog. Soul Key spawning here in the bottom, or in the top right-hand corner. YSC in the bottom right. This is the real challenge. If YSC could upset this, that would really be something. That would be pretty impressive.
I mean, it certainly would be. His chances are definitely going to be slim, but think of this. They brought Soulkey out early, thinking that they need to deal with YSC while they still can, but that also lines up Light to potentially knock out Soulkey going forward as well, and then maybe Mini could knock out Light and still get 2 points on the board for Protoss. So even if YSC does expectedly go down here against Soulkey, this still kind of lines up Protoss for a victory no matter what happens. So I'm kind of happy about this.
I wonder if anyone can take on Sulky. He is just so scary right now. This is the guy that you would expect to all kill, but hasn't performed quite as good in the KCM as he does in other tournaments like the ASL. It's not a best of 7 here, guys, of course. YSC's percent chance of winning in a best of 7 versus Sulky, probably even less than Protoss's chance of winning this week. 6% would be generous. For a best of 7 between these two. But in a best of 1, there is a possibility that YSC could take him down. Really, anyone on this squad could have a chance at making that happen.
Yeah, I was saying off air to some of the chatters there while you're taking a bio break, saying that, yeah, definitely anything can happen in this best of 1 situation. Sulky might be super dominant when it comes to best of 3 or 5 or 7, but we've seen him eliminated quite a few times out of KCM. Certainly, YSC might be capable of doing that here today as well, if not maybe light in the coming game. We'll have to wait and see. Again, full Zergling style from Sulky with no drone scout, optimizing his own minerals and hedging his bets against the openings of the Protoss player. It will be that gateway first with the Zealot pressure. Puts a little bit of damage onto that first Zergling. So far, so good for YSC. If he keeps controlling his units like this, he might be surprising Sulky and forcing him to make a few additional Zerglings. And then he would like to a little bit ahead of schedule and kind of limit the drone capacity of Sulky and keep him on the back foot in the economy of this game.
I'm surprised to see YSC go so aggressive with this Zealot attack. It's so scary to allow Lings to get into your main here, especially Sulky Lings, and it's kind of an inevitability when you send both your first Zealots across the map. Okay, Zealot probe on the ramp. Good target there. He does get the probe. Probe goes down. 2 Lings get killed, but still 2 Lings in the main is a lot of Sulky Lings to deal with.
Yeah, it's 2 Lings too many if you ask me, saying, but more Zerglings potentially going to be joining their brethren as well. Now YSC on the back foot himself, trying to race back home with some of these Zealots, and Sulky could put a lot of pressure with his tough switching ability. He's made some safety links back at home to prevent counterattacks as well as reinforce this attack if YSC does nothing but defend. Luckily, YSC's got Zealots in the wall to prevent these Zerglings from doing critical damage, but he can't easily clean up these Zerglings in the main base. So now we've got big problems here for YSC. If he loses any more economy to these Zerglings, they will definitely be worth it for Sulky. Sometimes you're better off just making a cannon in your mineral line and calling it a day and not bothering to chase the Zerglings around too much. But YSC hasn't elected to do that. He's going to instead try and clean this up predominantly with these Zealots, and that could definitely open him up to exploitation from the superior control of Sulky.
Well, looking at the big picture here, whoa, Ling speed finishes up, and there's still a lot of Lings in here. Yeah, this is scary. He will start the cannon now. Definitely necessary. Sulky spent a lot of money on Lings. He's really invested quite heavily into that. And so his tech really isn't online here. He pulled off of gas after getting the speed started, and then he eventually got back into that. Now a Hydralisk Den on the way. Drone number's not that high, and YSC did get away with making this Nexus right after. Oh my god, is he gonna force a cancel? No cancel. Great snipe there on the Stargate.
Man, I mean, you almost never see something like that. Only in a Sulky game do you see something like that occurring. And he was kind of waiting to pull the trigger on that. He knew with 5 Zerglings, he had more than enough DPS to out-damage the generation as that building was warping in. YSC in a little bit of disarray after getting that building sniped, and probably will be feeling the pressure and wanting to apply his own now to Sulky and force more additional units being made. He doesn't want Sulky to sit back and just drone up to his heart's content after taking that much damage.
He actually wants to get out here with the Zealots. This would be good for him to move forward and find out that there is indeed this Hydralisk play coming out of Sulky. So far, sitting back a little bit defensively. Is that a third cannon on the way? A third cannon would be very beneficial right now.
Oh, pylon maybe.
Definitely needs
Might be a
that.
pylon.
Could be a pylon, could be a cannon. We haven't seen that just yet. More lings being made, but the lings are the Zealot's going to slip by. Hydra's going to be spotted here. That's a big scout. Very big scout here for YSC. He may be able to hold this now with that information.
Yeah, it was a pylon. Now he's trying to make additional cannons. This is a great ninja Zealot that he sent to his natural third to kind of avoid the main rally point of Sulky as those reinforcements were streaming down on the vertical axis, and now got critical scouting information. It's so important for Protoss players to sacrifice a Zealot at this timing. A lot of Protoss players complain about not being able to get scouting information without sacking the Zealot, but it's so valuable to do so. You're kind of happy, or should be happy, in sacrificing that Zealot for that critical scout to be safe and have a much crisper Zealot cannon timing to deal with that Hydra force. Now he's got 4 cannons finished up, so he won't just get bowled over so easily by Sulky, and can pull probes if he needs to. Needs to be careful not to take too much damage onto this Corsair that's harassing around the map, pinning down some of these Hydras from reinforcing the front line. And it will be a full transition from Sulky, just relegating himself to a gateway pick. He could potentially snipe this cannon and then go for a forge pick as well, but he doesn't necessarily need to do that right now. A soft contain is also viable.
Cancel on the 5th cannon, not taking it very seriously, this Hydralisk attack, considering that Sulky is rebuilding and setting up a bunch of hatches and drones are being produced back at home. This is a good call from YSC, but it's dangerous. That's a lot of lings still. Oh, dude, he starts 2 more cannons. He's really going to regret canceling that number 5. 3 cannons go down so quickly, and these Zealots, they do clean up the lings, but they're not going to be very helpful against these Hydras as they come forward.
This is why Sulky's so good, man. He finds these tiny little variations. Like if you play greedy, he's gonna punish. If you don't play greedy, he just won't punish and contain you. Now the pressure's ready on the pro pull finally comes out, but it might be too little too late. 2 more cannons now starting to warp in. Hydra streaming across the map as well to try and put the nail in the coffin of YSC, who's desperately trying to hold the line of these warping in cannons. He's losing a few probes for his effort as well. I mean, this is an okay hold from YSC considering the situation, but he's still up against it. He can still be broken right now. Sulky targeting these cannons as they're warping in will be a pretty devastating blow to YSC. Now these High Templars are exposed, and he's going to have to tap out because Storm is just too far away. He's got 10-20 seconds before that kicks in, and Sulky is already going to be taking him out in a very clean fashion. I don't really expect anything less. It would have been safer to keep the 5th cannon there for YSC, but even so, Sulky could have transitioned and made a long game out of it regardless.
Kind of the expected result there, YSC taken out by Sulky. He is just so smooth with those Hydralisk busts, man. It's kind of incredible to watch. Putting on that pressure and then effortlessly slipping back into macro and then back into Hydralisk pressure again. YSC just wasn't quite able to keep up with it and didn't fully respect it. Thought that there was a macro transition coming from Sulky, but was deceived. Now Light spawning here in the bottom left. Going to be taking on Sulky on Eclipse. This is a great matchup and a great match to kind of round out the series. Light, the final Terran player standing against all odds here.
Yeah, I think the Protoss players in the dugout will also be on the edge of their seat, because if somehow Light does take out Sulky, this could still be a Protoss victory this week, which would be a really big deal, putting 2 points on the board. So we'll have to see if Light can go the distance. Eclipse, a pretty good map for Terran. Also a mech viable map. You can either go straight up mech or transition into mech. It's pretty strong either way, although Light, not that kind of guy. He's more likely going to do an SK Terran style of play and cut SCVs around 40-45 and go crazy on his production in this matchup. And I expect to see something akin to that here against Sulky today, who's been going for a 12 hatch and being a little bit greedy against Light. He knows Light is not the most aggressive of players, and he rarely will go for an 8 racks or anything like that, so Sulky knows he can probably get away with this.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that out of Light, and Sulky is agreeing with us. Setting up that hatchery here early and getting to a strong mid-game as he continues to pump out drones. It's a very long walk distance for these naked Marines as well. And so it's likely that we'll just see Light cut some Marine production and go for a quicker CC. Although he doesn't have to. Seems like he's still building Marines for now. Comes forward, gets one hit on that Marine, just going to back away. Cheeky little Hawktua on that Marine there. Backs off.
Yeah. Although he does stop the drone getting too close in to identify this CC timing, so this could be a fake expand from Light for all Sulky knows, and this could be like a 2 racks, 1 base bio play with a crazy fast stim timing to bowl Sulky over. He's trying to keep Sulky in the dark and worried about potential threats, knowing that it takes a little bit longer for the Overlords to come in to that natural scouting location, because it has to take a safer trajectory towards the 6 o'clock first. And that means it'll take a little bit longer for Sulky to identify exactly what's coming, but as long as he holds his nerve and doesn't freak out, he will identify it. This is nothing too crazy coming out here from Light, and we'll be able to optimize accordingly going into the early mid-game.
Ooh, SCV getting caught up there. Will end up going down. Sulky clearing that out early means that he has a lot of options open to him. This is one thing you don't want to give to Sulky in general. Just give him you know, some darkness here to pull the wool over your eyes and find a way to surprise you. Light losing that early SCV, definitely a sign here that maybe he's not in the right mindset going into this. Sulky going to be moving up right to the front, containing any vision that can come out from Light, and behind this, Light is going into a +1 build. Very quick +1 here on 1 racks, so he's not going to be moving out early, probably morphing this into a 4 racks expansion after the fact.
Yeah, this is definitely Batman Terran versus Bane Zerg. Light has adapted to the dark, but Sulky was born and molded by it. We'll be getting a very quick on-location 3rd hatchery. Hydra Defiler is super effective on this map, basically the map that kind of essentially created that style, since it was quite hard to fight against Terrans effectively here and get the cost efficiency rating needed to beat them in the mid to late game phases. Sulky with that fast 3rd also could build Sunkens up against that ramp and defend easily from the high ground if necessary, but sometimes you don't even need to do that. Sometimes just relying purely on Mutilus control will be enough, will suffice. 4 barracks option here from Light. We expect almost nothing less from him. This is the kind of style he likes to go for, more production-orientated builds. He'll be placing a SCV to build a turret on the top of these depots. He knows that Sulky could exploit that pocket and try and pick off some of those critical depots and supply block him. So he's going to try and hedge his bets against the Mutilus pressure from Sulky while building up a very unstoppable Bioforce to eventually push out onto the map with, which is essentially what 4-Racks enables you to do. Any less than 4-Racks, and it's likely with total Mutilus production, you will keep the Terran in their base rower.
Light gonna have to hold this initial pain here. Jumping on top of the barracks, just kind of harassing the heck out of it. Will force the lift. That's what he's looking for. Open up a little bit of a position here for maybe some Lings to flow in. Try to snipe down some turrets or what have you. Second turret going to be finishing up here on the high ground in a moment. Those Lings are going to come into play here, no doubt. Sulky, one of the best in the business. Maybe the best in the business at pulling apart Terran players with these little Ling stabs, along with his Mutilus play. But this is a lot of Marines coming forward here, man. That +1 is done. Range is done as well. And these Terran Marines are stimming forward, looking for those snipes on some of these encroaching mutas. Ooh, almost lost one there. with that rally point. But here comes that Ling stab that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, the lack of bunker is really what's enabling Ling stabs like that. Like trying to be a little bit on the greedy side and avoid making that bunker so we can make 2 extra Marines. Might pay the price for that as longer this game goes on. Does lose one of those turrets to that Ling stab, which is sustainable for now, but it could get out of hand if another Ling stab does occur. Pretty good control from Light, keeping the Mulist at bay, but equally fairly good Mulist control from Sulky. Gonna start acting like a barber right now and taking a little bit off the top over and over again and just starting to line Light up going forward. He's forced so many stims. These medics have really low energy in their reservoirs. We'll have to be careful of when he chooses to stim and not stim all of his Marines, because eventually those medics will run dry.
These are the real dangerous trades, diving in with the mutas, that big clump of Marines, and trying to shave them off. Sulky doing a fantastic job of it, slowing this down little by little. Light trying to push forward here to keep the mutas out of his base. The transition is coming for Sulky. He will eventually get that lurker upgrade online, and mutas still have to remain here until that is accomplished. Send some Marines across the map. That's been spotted by Sulky. He knows that those Marines are coming. He's gonna send his mutas over there to try and block that. Does see some Marines here, but there's still about 2 heading northward, looking for some damage there at that 3rd base. How much damage can he get done? Sulky spotted it now. Some drones going to be going down here. We're kind of missing it right now, but there it is. Drones going down here. 3 drones so far. A 4th drone falls. This is throwing a massive wrench into the game plan of Sulky, who really should be getting into that hive about now.
I mean, it certainly is saying, but this is a 5-rack style Terran, so he's kind of really reliant on doing damage. Very semi-all-in way of playing Terran, trying to kind of leverage this superior bio count in the mid-game before the full transition of the Zerg is underway with lurkers set up at both bases. He does find some prerequisite damage necessary to transition and go into a slightly more traditional two-base setup, but he still ideally wants to find more damage, or at least keep constant muta production in the skies, which Sulky did go for. He had a fairly low drone count because of how many mutalisks he was forced to make to keep Light at bay, and even despite all of those efforts from Sulky, he did lose a few of the drones in the end anyway. More and more Marines streaming up on the other lane right now, forcing a decision from Sulky to intercept them and risk his natural being taken advantage of, or keep dealing with this force and risk his 3rd being exploited again. Sulky caught between a rock and a hard place. I hope he's got some forces set up at that 3rd. He hasn't. There's only 3 Hydras in the Sunken that's not yet morphed. Definitely could be losing more drones here. He has to pull the trigger and helping out with the Mulist, and now Light can put pressure onto the natural. Look at this crazy play from Light. This is why he's considered the daddy Terran, understanding these razor-thin timing windows to exploit. Unfortunately, he still might be dispatched by Sulky. He did pull the majority of his drones into that main base, and with a superior micro from these forces, will be still doing a kill move on the bioforce of Light, even though those 3 drones did go down.
That was a lot of drone damage though, man. A lot of drones, and he killed a bunch of those Hydras as well. Big tank push coming behind this too. 3 tanks already done, and a 4th is going to be coming soon. That hive just finished, and we've got a Defiler Mound on the way, so Light has a bit of a window, but it's closing quickly. He needs to make a move. Sulky already coming up here to the front with the lurkers, trying to buy some time. Let's see if he can buy enough to keep to get that Defiler out and get the Dark Cloud online. Dark Swarm.
I mean, as soon as Sulky sees those tanks, his like heckles are going to go up, and he's going to start to panic a little bit because he knows he'll be on a clock, and he has to intercept this force and try and stop at least slow the force down critically to get his tech fully online. You got a whole position lurker set up here in this lane. Vessel will be able to spot that though, so we'll just be frontally engaging that. But Irradiate comes down on the cloud of mutas as well, softening those up. The tank push is now fully operational. Sulky in a little bit of panic, going to be trying to desperately throw some counter counterattacks, and he's actually just going to tap out. He knows how commanding of a position Light is in. That's just such high-level Terran saying, I can't even begin to describe. The clapper from KCM, more than warranted. He's kind of making these other Terrans look silly. Like, seriously, that pulling apart by forcing the muters to Hu and Ha from the third and the natural with that critical timing was so exemplary from Light. He's really establishing dominance as a Terran versus Zerg guru and showing these other up-and-coming Terrans how it's done and how razor-thin those windows are to exploit to take out a champion that is sulky.
Everything is up for grabs here as we jump into game number 6. We're going to have a Light versus Shuttle. And I think we're going to be in a straight-up split situation. Action mini Light, most likely, unless Shuttle pulls out something fantastic to take down Light, who's looking absolutely on fire after taking Sulky out. I mean, we could end up seeing Light just go all the way from here.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. Light is more than capable of doing that. It would be kind of nice to put some points on the board there for Protoss if Mini can carry the torch, or maybe even Shuttle, kind of obfuscating the possible range of play and actually playing good for once and not trolling his face off. We'll have to see. Sometimes I do wonder about Shuttle, if he's just a clever guy that's realized he's at the bottom of the ladder in terms of his ability compared to some of these other guys, but he can more than be entertaining with his antics, and I'm sure he also does just throw games accidentally, but I do wonder if it's a bit like Artosis, and even though he is actually like that, he sometimes plays it up for views and what have you.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Shuttle. Sometimes he has a bit of brilliance, other times he's, you know, losing tons of probes to a mine, or you know, not reacting to a drop that he should be reacting to, letting his Dragoons walk in and just die. But we'll see what kind of Shuttle we get today here. He is getting into that main base, sees Light's gas is already done, cannot gas steal or anything like that, but he wasn't really angling for that anyway. He's just getting in here now. It's a pretty normal scout timing, figuring out exactly what's going on for Light.
Yeah, I mean, once upon a time, Shuttle was, you know, very strong contender in the scene. He was able to go toe-to-toe with Flash, so definitely capable of high caliber play. Just haven't been able to see the consistency from him as of late. Wasn't able to get the chase micro on that SCV. Would have been nice for him. He's trying to do some manual sliding over the hex grid here to catch up. If Light wasn't controlling his SCV manually, it would be possible for this probe to start doing damage to this, but because Light is also controlling the SCV manually, he will be able to stay out of the range of that probe for the time being. But now here comes the interception. With the probe blocking, he's trying to get on top of the SCV. Can Light? He does somehow squeeze by. I don't even know how Light is able to do these kind of maneuvers. It's like he just knows. He sees the Matrix. He is the Neo of the Terran race, and
well, he's getting in there. Sees absolutely everything. Completely red-pilled at this point as to what the Protoss is up to. His eyes are wide open here, and he's going to be moving forward with the bunker, getting this expansion online, and already has that factory down, so Vulture will be slipping out here shortly, being a bit extra careful here. Usually we would see Light, especially on a map like this, Dominator, delay that bunker by quite a bit, just to, you know, eke out a little bit more of an advantage by holding the high ground with the Marines and the Vulture. But getting that early bunker, just a little extra defensive. Light knows that he's favored in this matchup, and it should just be a little bit more careful to make sure he doesn't lose to anything silly.
Yeah, he's going to try and see if he can squeeze the Vulture in and do some free damage, but once he sees the Dragoon there, he won't even attempt that. He knows how precious this first Vulture is, and setting up the mines at the third location is far more superior to anything else he could go for here. He's currently waiting for that mines upgrade to kick in, just making sure there's not some crazy greed out of Shuttle. It's very unlikely, but it is technically possible. he could skip over some of his tech and get like a 4-minute 30 Nexus or something. And Light's just currently covering all of his bases. He's so dialed in to the timings of this game, similar to how Flash was so dominant. He just understood every possible timing and how to avoid being caught off guard by them. And we see now not even needing to do a small FD push to get these mines. Oh, look at that beautiful play there, taking the aggro of the Dragoon to now put a lot of damage onto it with that first mine, even though it was just a spotter. Now that Dragoon on 20 HP, already putting himself into a great spot. Might be able to keep this Vulture alive just barely, but its time is definitely limited. Shuttle will eventually be able to clean that up.
Yeah, there's nowhere to run, so Light looking for an opportunity to maybe run by while that's getting cleared up. Not going to work out for him. Shuttle clears out that third base. Could potentially come down to secure that. However, the Dragoon on the high ground is super low, and a tank is now making its way over here. That Dragoon will not be able to stand against it. In fact, just will go down. This is a cute little play from Light here, knowing that, hey, I've got mines over here. I've got a tank. Maybe I can just go ahead and take out that Dragoon, and as soon as you try to respond, rotate and deal with that, or rotate away from this. Oh, he's going to catch the tank on the way out. This is absolutely not worth it for Light. So the cheeky, cute play from Light, bringing that tank forward to get the kill on the Dragoon, ends up backfiring massively.
Yeah, he didn't have enough mines covering that flank. He had 2 mines on the pizza slice, but not a mine far enough south to make Shuttle think twice about it. Shuttle kind of called his bluff and trusted that there wasn't too many mines that would intercept him. It's going to be a 3-factory pressure build initially from Light. We'll have to see if he wants to make additional factories and go all the way up into 5. Knowing that the likelihood of a Reaver play might be coming out from Shuttle, and it is currently the meta that you need a slightly higher factory count just to sometimes take your third safely, as well as having enough units to not be so slowed down by your advances when you do finally move out.
Now this is the new version of Dominators, or so he will be able to build out onto the pizza slice a little bit here, put some turrets out there, put some supply depots, maybe even a bunker or something out on that pizza slice, and makes taking that third base quite a bit easier, the mineral only third, but it's still a little challenging to get that other third online. The third over there at the center left, you will definitely need quite a few resources to be able to try and take that. 5 factories now down here for Light. Third base is coming up for Shuttle. It's now online, getting that income flowing, and more gateways are going to come online now. He's realized, hey, you've got a lot of factories there. This might be a fully dedicated push. 6 fact. Light is going to try and 2-base attack him. He really needs a lot of gateways here quickly, and Shuttle is kind of panicking, throwing those down as quickly as he can.
Yeah, you kind of need like a 1.5 to 1 ratio approximately, depending on the game state, to make that happen. And he's definitely behind schedule in his production. So this 6 fact could more than easily have enough punching power to eliminate Shuttle. He's going to have to rely on his Shuttle and Reaver control to slow down Light enough to get those production cycles on the way. And Light was the guy that kind of made us see this map differently. We used to think that Dominator was a Protoss favorite map when it first came out. Observer does see the 6 factory, but yeah, we thought that the low to high ground transitions of this pizza slice would make it a much more Protoss favored map. But actually, Light said you can just circumnavigate that by attacking the center of the board and having attack vectors from there to exploit the geometry. There's some high ground cliff faces in the center. You can bottleneck the Protoss player up, and as well as circumnavigating the high to low ground transitions, definitely makes it more of a slightly Terran favored map. But Light was kind of the guy to help us see that.
Yeah, he certainly has a good way of approaching this map. Like you said, pushing to the middle and then just setting up a undeniable strong position in that middle of the map. Reaver coming down here into this main base. There is a mine there. Eats a tank shot as well, so we'll be driven back for the time being. But kind of opening up the main a little bit for maybe some sort of a follow-up. It's just Shuttle should be focusing more on these units moving forward here, trying to slow that down rather than dealing any sort of economic damage to Light. Stopping this push should be the main priority, and he is adding on more gateways here behind this, getting out some zealots. You should have speed coming up pretty soon as well, and looks like you'll be going into Storm as an afterthought.
Yeah, going into a bit more of a gateway man style, which is definitely more his forte. He is not super confident with his shuttles and reavers. He sometimes loses his shuttles and reavers for free. He's going to attempt to do a dive into the main base here, knowing that there's one turret that's no longer going to be set up here, trying to get on top of these tanks and force Light to turn around into his main base. And he's going to pop at least one of these tanks, start taking out the turrets, and keep the shuttle's mobility alive. He loses one of those critical shuttles. He's trying to pop 3 depots and an armory simultaneously to cripple the upgrade timing as well as supply block Light here. But Light knows that, and he's going to try and pounce on top of this Reaver as quick as possible, and will eventually take that out. Shuttle doesn't even get that to safety because that turret's still in range of that location, so we couldn't pick up that turret because of how low the shuttle was. So unfortunately now, Light in a pretty commanding position. He could go for a big attack, but some damage was still done by the Protoss. I mean, Shuttle did get a bit of a slowdown there, and now with the mineral only being taken, this is a bit brazen though. I think Light could go for a kill move here. If Shuttle's not careful and micros perfectly, definitely room for Terran to just stomp him out.
Yeah, this is a little bit wild taking this 4th base. I mean, he does need it eventually, but this attack across the map, it's going to require absolutely everything that Shuttle can muster, and he's going to be building a lot of zealots here, getting those Templar online. Can he get the Storm out just barely in time? Look at this. Look at how Light is pushing through the middle of the map. This is exactly what we expected of him, and he does it better than any other players. I don't even see that many Terran players attempt this style, but it just works so well.
You can see Shuttle cancelling that Nexus, agreeing with us that, okay, maybe that was a bit ridiculous to attempt something like that. He needs all hands on deck, producing non-stop units out of these gateways, trying to deal with this attack that's currently encroaching on his position. He has got this high ground in his main base that prevents Terrans laying siege easily to the gateways once they get to that mineral-only location. But with the floating barracks coming here, Light will eventually enable that regardless. He will start to force Shuttle to come to him, because this is going to be a slow, painful death for Shuttle if he doesn't engage the Terran eventually. Light knows that. Shuttle's waiting for a critical mass of units to be ascertained, but Light is abusing the geometry of this map almost perfectly, only pushing forward with a few tanks tentatively and forcing Shuttle to not really get the cost-effective trades he needs to. One OK Storm goes down, but the Shuttle also falls. Observers being eliminated as well as the High Templars being sniped. I love this play from Light, isolating the detection from Shuttle and preventing him from clearing out and identifying the weak spots where all these mines are located.
Yeah, he's gonna have to just run through these mines. He doesn't really have a choice. He's delayed long enough already, and Light is getting into a better and better spot. He's got his 3rd base started now. This is such a tough spot for Shuttle. He's going to pull the trigger on this, but we're going to see the power of taking the center of the map here as Terran. And why we were talking about how ridiculously strong it is. Look at the positioning here is so good. Light, I mean, he's not behind any walls right there, but he is just encroaching so close. Here comes that engagement. Lots of zealots jumping on top of these forces. Tons of vultures in the middle. There is a big mine to the north of that one position. That mine right there might actually connect and blow up a lot of these vultures. He does get that huge explosion. My God, so many zealots died there. And it looks like Light will hold this spot.
Yeah, his vultures were slightly out of position. Not all of them were firing initially, so Shuttle was trading okay for the first part of that fight, but there's so many tanks to the north as well. The deeper you go into that tank setup, the more and more arc-like shock cannons going to be raining down on top of you, and there's not many zealots now to buffer for these dragoons. They will be dried up so quickly if they do attempt to engage the Terran head-on. Currently even on supplies almost Light. This production is is really starting to kick into full swing while he's also getting his third base finished up. So has a bit of an insurance policy behind this as well. Shuttle desperate to get some Zealot bombs on top of these tanks to try and whittle down the Protoss force, but Light just responding too quickly to that and saving all of those tanks from going down.
Yeah, as long as he keeps this tank line intact, can just get more and more bases online, continue to contain this Protoss threat. Starting to push forward up to the north. Definitely realizing that he needs to get more bases online, and the only way he's going to be able to get them is if he breaks northward, opening up the map in that top right pocket for further expansion. But Light is just bearing down, man. It's so hard to break this area, going around all these doodads. And walls here, these cliff faces.
Yeah,
it's a nightmare. Light is just so well positioned. Again, just cannot break through here. Shuttle is dying that slow death you talked about earlier.
Yeah, it's one of the things that's notable about Light is he's a very positional Terran player. His Terran versus Zerg is extremely timing orientated, but his Terran versus Protoss really does exploit positions more than anything. And you can see that exemplified here today. Light just running an absolute clinic on Shuttle, and Wide Dominator is such a good map for Terran potentially, as long as you know how to abuse it. And I mean, look how active he's being. He's always sniping those observers. As soon as they fly in, he's scanning for it and trying to identify it with the Hellfire pack missiles on those Goliaths, trying to shut them down preemptively. He's going to go for it yet again and take away the vision so the Dragoons can't help out clearing the mines quickly enough. Here come the big Zealot bombs and storm drops on top of the Vulture line to try and soften it up so there's not enough to screen and clean up the Zealot force that's going to be tanking the majority. And maybe Shuttle can make this work. He's done a good job of breaking through best style. There's a lot of siege tanks that aren't being leveraged right now at the Mineral Oni that Light's going to have to cycle down back towards his rally point. It seems like the Protoss player doing a good job of circumnavigating disaster and not engaging the Terran 2 head on here. See all these tanks that are from the north flank that are now coming down to join forces with what remnants there are of the Terran towards this southern hemisphere, but it doesn't seem to matter. Seems like Light still has enough meat on the bone for Shuttle to chew through, and even a landed engineering base stopping a Nexus being built at 6 o'clock. Light firing in all cylinders, both cognitively and in terms of his raw execution.
Well, that was a little bit sad. I felt like Shuttle had an idea there that maybe he could go for some sort of a counterattack, something like that, just go directly to the natural, but he ate some pretty rough mine connections. And when Light brought back his army as well, it was just pure tank there. If he could have dove on top of that with the Zealot Dragoon and High Templar he had, maybe he could have gotten something going, but in the end, Light just completely avoids that. Now a drop over here at the center left. That's going to slow things down just slightly, but it's not really going to hurt Light too bad. And in fact, he's even lifted his main base command center, sending it over to this third, really playing a scrappy game here and continuing to put on that pressure.
I mean, really well played from Light. He had great storm dodging with the SCV train as well at the third. Shuttle in a little bit disarray. Tries to take advantage of these tanks undefended, though. Is taking a lot of them out in the center of the board. Light a little bit slow to react with his Vulture count to save them, so Shuttle still a fighting chance in this game, trying to keep the tank alive. But look at the Vulture control, taking out those High Templar units critically, siphoning off the utility and splash damage potential of Shuttle going forward, and he's kind of relegated to relying on this mineral only instead of a gas expansion like at 6 o'clock he was looking for. Shuttle wanted to defend by attacking on this horizontal axis, and now kind of has to abandon that game plan and play a much wider style and eventually try and get the top right pocket, but Light will seize the opportunity to cut off that lane and encroach on that mineral only from the center of the board, which is a very defendable position like we were talking about. Another storm drop coming out of the 9 o'clock position. Can he get some SCV damage there? Not really finding the critical damage he needs to do some knockout blows to the economy of Light, and Shuttle now feeling the pain as once again Light sets up that win condition at the mineral only siege.
Few little Zealot drops here. Might be able to bait a mine. There we go. Gets a great mine connection. Forces back Light just slightly here once again on even bases, though. Time is ticking down as Shuttle not quite able to expand again and get one over on Light. He's still got a pretty good overall supply advantage here, and he's got some money banked up, so he should be able to get nearer to a max as Light tries to push in a little bit further. Also, the one thing to mention, oh my god, where did that storm come from? Where was that Templar? It was somewhere in behind the mineral line, but it just got a huge storm there. One thing to mention I was gonna say is that Light, I don't think he has the follow-up upgrades. Did he ever get the Starport Science Facility?
I'm not even sure he has. I think he's relying predominantly on 1-1 Terran to get the job done and not allow the transition from Shuttle to get into more bases and more upgrades himself. Light still has a definitely good opportunity to achieve that. Lucky those sixes if he's found the safety square available to him, so he has some economy left to work with. But beautiful storms there from Shuttle, trying to break through. Not that many Zealots, though, to go the distance. He's just trying to take out all the tanks on the periphery and stop this mineral only from going down. Eventually, though, Light could do a lot of heavy lifting in this game with these siege tanks in the center of the board with this great setup and still push the issue against Shuttle and force unfavorable trades. There's the 1-1 upgrades of Terran that we were expecting. He's definitely going to be semi-all-in with this style, trying to put the last few nails in on the coffin. There is still a hope that Shuttle was a vampire all along and will be potentially coming back to haunt Light if Light doesn't execute perfectly.
Yeah, this reminds me of like a Zerg player going layer style, where you're just like, yeah, you can get bigger and bigger, but you're never gonna get that critical tech online when you're playing like this. But look at this. Shuttle has just been taking such bad trades. Since that last one, it's been brutal. Look at the spread here all along that wall. He was like 30 supply ahead before he attacked into that position earlier. And although he did manage to take out quite a few tanks, he was really struggling. Might be time for another counterattack, actually, because so many tanks are over here on this side. There's not that many, I think, between him and the rally point. Maybe just a few. He is starting to clear out some of these mines over here on the left-hand side. Maybe open himself up to do some sort of counterattack, but he's going to lose the Nexus, and he's totally mined out. He has no money at the third base.
Yes, an almost unstoppable spread here from like definitely an all-you-can-eat buffet, and it's almost like maybe from Futurama that beverage Slurm. Turns out that maybe Terrans were drinking or eating something that was made from the blue blood of these Dragoons, and they don't want anyone to know about it, but maybe it just tastes good, say, and certainly the way they are holding the line and fighting tooth and nail and killing so many of these Dragoons makes me wonder if that's definitely a possibility. Shuttle now desperate to get something done. He's going to go for one last Hail Mary push and try and secure the 6 o'clock while breaking the Terran line, but it shouldn't be enough. Looks like Light is targeting down these High Templars expertly now, using the high ground advantage to just absolutely run a clinic on Shuttle in this game, and showing why Dominator is such a good map for Terran when in the right hands.
Oh, awesome. We're going to get action versus Light on Metropolis. This should be a lot of fun. I mean, you've been talking about this on and off for quite some time, how good action is at his Defiler control and also that Nidus networking around the map to kind of secure these other bases. I mean, this is what we've been waiting for. We want to see this. Can Action take this into a late game against Light and give us a really good show?
I mean, unfortunately, that's very unlikely. Light is a very timing attack orientated Terran player, happy to cut SCVs early, like we were talking about earlier, especially around that sort of 40 count. It's going to be really tough for Action to get into his full swing and able to exploit his forte of that late game Defiler control usage. And just to quickly explain what we're talking about, the reason why we're bigging up this map in Action, not only because of his Defiler control, but also this massive boot shape main base allows you to kind of sneak hatcheries in the corner, set up a Nidus canal, and easily establish additional bases with quick reinforcements. And Action is one of the best in the business at achieving that style of play, as well as just his exemplary use of the Defilers in general. So if he does somehow get into that late game swing, it would be great.
You say easily, Shun, but nothing easy about pulling that type of style off.
No,
There's just so
no,
much
he makes it look
micro.
easy.
Yeah, he makes it look easy for sure, but making that work, it's tough. Getting that Nidus up at a hidden location and then slowly sliding over to secure a base. Definitely can be annoying for the Terran player to deal with, but it takes a lot of effort to make it work, to make it happen for the Zerg player in action. He's just got the chops for something like that, so that's the reason why we're excited here, guys. 1 Rex FE for Light to start things off for us, and a 12 hatch out of action as well. So just some nice normal openers here on either side, and we're going to get into a macro game, at least for the very beginning stages here.
Well, because Action pulled his drone scout back so soon, Light just cancels his Marine and gets a very crisp timing on that command center. One of the reasons why drone scouting is so good is it kind of prevents Terran from getting away with making a Marineless CC. But Light kind of made the Marine and saw the drone wasn't planning on sticking around, so he could just cancel that and throw down the CC undeterred. If you do just go for a Marineless CC, the drone can come in and harass the building SCV and cause a little bit of a panic for the Terran. So Light getting away with murder here and getting a very optimized CC timing to start things off.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very important when you send that first early drone out. It's not only for checking to see if there's an 8 racks or something like that coming, but you also want to get in there and do a little bit of harassment as well. And you can definitely do so, at least until the Marine pops out, and then it's time to get out of dodge. There's a factory coming up here for Light. He's mixing it up, man. We might be seeing something kind of crazy from Light this game. Could it be some sort of 2-port Wraith follow-up? He's still keeping on gas here, man. I'm starting to feel that 2-port Wraith.
Maybe, but I think it's more likely to be Valkyries would be my guess. If this map is a pretty good map for Valkyrie play. Certainly it could be a more economic version of 2-port Wraith, but I think knowing Light, it's most likely gonna be Valkyrie build. We'll have to see. Ooh, it could just be straight up mech play. I mean, that's very unorthodox for Light, kind of like obfuscating his range of play here from both us, the casters, and maybe Action too, because he's not really a big mech guy. He knows how to play mech. He knows how to play anything under the sun, but he usually doesn't go for it. He's usually more of an SK Terran or maybe a 1-1-1 kind of guy, or just a straight up 2-port Wraith on one base. So this is definitely not in his usual wheelhouse, which might throw Action off.
Yeah, this is interesting. Curious to see how he wants to play this out. As soon as you see the Vulture there, it's kind of revealed, although this could still be, you know, a 1-1-1 Valkyrie play. Hard to say what's exactly coming here. He will have to probably pull drones to the ramp just to make sure that this Vulture doesn't get in. Lings gonna come up from behind. Can he get the trap with the Lings from behind and the drones from the front? Oh, he loses a drone. That drone kill is pretty annoying, but the Lings get right on top of this. Very good control here for Action. Catching that Vulture, he will get rid of it.
Really well done from Action. That target firing from Light was really stellar stuff, and being able to kill that drone at maximum range. But I mean, we got a Hydra Den quick transition from Action, kind of obfuscating his own play. He could go for a lurker bust here and try and shut down Light early. If it is going to be a straight up Goliath build out of Light, he will be susceptible to an early game timing lurker bust play from Action. So we'll have to wait and see what occurs. It could just be a bit of Hydra pressure against mech style play. It is common sometimes, you know, just to get some speed Hydras out on the map and pressure that wall in. The bunker will not actually cover those buildings too effectively at maximum range, so could potentially do a bit of a, you know, Zerg versus Protoss-esque style here with a Hydra bust, but also could be a lurker follow-up from Action. He's pulling a lot of gas. He could make, like, you know, 5 or 6 lurkers here and suddenly bowl over Light.
It's a great example of how things can cascade out of control in a game of Broodwar. Light lost that first Vulture, so he wasn't able to keep vision outside of this natural, and so he didn't see the Hydras being built. and
Right.
doesn't have a scanner because he's gone for mech, and so he's building a ton of turrets right now. That's a lot of lurkers being built. He is definitely going to go for that bust, and there's going to be no scan, one bunker at this front. He's starting to get suspicious. Like, where are these Mutilas? 7 minutes in and there's no Mutilas here? Something weird is coming, and he's not quite figured it out yet.
No, it's common for Zergs to sometimes skip mutas and go drones, but skipping mutas completely, like usually there'll be at least 5 mutas or at least 1 or 2 mutas checking the main base for how many factories there are to see if it's tech mech or 5-pack Goliath, and he's not done either of those things, so definitely suspicious is like throwing additional turrets to be safe. But here comes the lurker bus. Targets one of those lurkers down, gets it. Targets the second one down, so 77 lurkers left remaining, starting to rain down subterranean spines on that wall in of light. There's one bunker to hold the line, getting some desperate SCV repairs on that. So far, he's done a great job of buffering against the lurker bus, and will survive for the time being, but eventually those supply depots will go down, and he will pull the trigger on potentially diving in there with a lot of Zerglings and lurkers to try and explode this bunker. There's a tank on the high ground that will start to put a clock on this attack, but the bunker will fall. Light's in a lot of trouble. He has to hold the line on the ramp and prevent this tank from going down. He might not be successful this one. There's a lot of lurker lane getting on top of him. Action might be taken out. Light here in a crazy fashion, saying,
Oh, this is such a sick build from Action. This has got to be it. GG is going to be called here in a moment. Lurkers right on top of these factories. A beautifully mapped out game from Action. Just everything kind of falling apart, though. From that one mistake, losing the Vulture, you can see Light doesn't usually play mech. Not realizing how important it was to keep that alive. See those Hydralisks coming, so he knows what to do. Kind of panicking there, building so many turrets, but he needed that tank on high ground with that factory, and had he seen that Hydralisk coming, he would have had tank with siege mode right away to deal with it. Things spiral out of control so fast in this game, Should. It's incredible.
yeah, no, it really is saying, and even getting the clapper and a big lean back from KCM. Action definitely getting his mojo back after a slightly disappointing ASL performance. My eyes are going to be on him going forward.
Well, we didn't get the game that we were expecting out of Light versus Action, but we got a pretty incredible and wild game there. That lurker bust, the antidote to his mech play. Now it's time for Mini to take the stage over here in top right. He's got a bit of a job to do. YSE has given him an excellent setup to land this basket. The layup here for Mini, all he needs to do is take down Action one time, and he will get 2 points on the board for that Protoss squad.
Yeah, it's a great alley-oop setup there from YSE, giving opportunities for Mini to secure that necessary slam dunk and finish things off. Get those 2 points on the board for Protoss and be very happy going forward, and maybe even avoiding a playoffs completely if they can keep performing in these future weeks of KCM. But Action looking like a calculated monster right now. He's definitely not been performing as of well lately than his usual self, and fighting back strong currently, looking to redeem himself. He's even going for a 12 hatch play. I mean, the balls on this guy, the absolute balls on this guy. Like, this is so easily exploitable from Mini, who likes to go for quick, you know, 10, 12 forge sometimes to threaten cannon rushes. But equally Mini, his own nerves of steel, going to be going for a Nexus first here. Both players coming to play in this final match of the day, saying, I'm all about it.
Yeah, the Nexus first is so nasty. I have to deal with this all the time on ladder, guys. It's so popular. As a player who usually goes overpool or for this 12 hatchery like Action, I just know this is a rough position. That Nexus first just gives you so much power. You can get the Corsair out so quickly, and the number of Zealots you can produce is kind of crazy. So we're going to be looking at Mini in a new light here. He's going to be looking like a new man with that Nexus first. has so much momentum here going into this game.
But I'm kind of getting chills though, because I mean, Action's kind of blindly read this, and he made this hatchery at the third very early on before making a single additional Zergling pair or drone once that 13 supply. So even though this is a Nexus first, the response from Action is definitely crisp, despite not having total confirmation on the opening from Mini. So definitely coming to fight strong here in this final match. Mini's doing that new style of wall in with the forge slightly further back so you can build a cannon above and below it to prevent it from being sniped by a fake Hydra bust so easily. Trying to now snipe this scouting probe with the first initial 4 Zerglings. We'll have to see if there's going to be a Hydrogen thrown down at this mark of the game. This is the timing to throw down the Hydrogen around 3 minutes 30. Mini knows that, so he wants to keep this probe alive as long as possible and scout out for that potential den being thrown down.
I would say Action probably needs to go for a den here. The Corsair timing is going to be so quick. He starts a layer, but his gas started after Mini's gas, and this is just, it's going to be so fast, guys. It's kind of crazy what you can get away with as the Protoss going Nexus first. There's the Cybercore on the way right now. Action here, still chasing the probe in the main, and a Zealot is about to slip into that third base. Any slowdown right now is going to be tragic here for the Zerg player. Really does need to deal with this cleanly so that he can keep up with the Protoss. And already he's being kind of pulled apart.
Well, he can use the HP as a resource temporarily on that hatchery. It takes a long time for those side blades to chomp through that. If you can get 1 or 2 punches on that Zealot for free would be great. Actually, the sliding of the Zerglings glitched out that Zealot just a little bit as those Zerglings started to hatch. So we'll be able to clean up that Zealot for just the price of 2 meager Zerglings. So kind of going Action's way thus far. There's that really crisply timed Stargate on the way, even before 4 minutes 45. So really well timed out build here from Mini inversely, but with how well Action has dealt with the early game shenanigan potential, seems like Mini will be relegated to just hiding in his wall, and knowing that there's a strong likelihood of a lot of Zerglings being produced, and Mini be going for a slightly faster Citadel than usual. He does like to do this slightly crisper timings of builds. He sometimes even gets a very quick early additional gateways to put on a lot of pressure to the Zerg player with timings that they're not quite used to. Mini is definitely an optimizer-orientated player. Someone like Best is a much more fundamental Protoss style, but Mini is always finding ways of cutting corners and squeezing out a few seconds of these timings to catch players off guard.
Yeah, he's certainly a scary Protoss player to try and deal with. Has a unique style, and wow, this Spire is coming online just in time here for Action. In fact, he might not even lose an Overlord. Really well handled by him. I can attest, it is tough to keep up with the Protoss player when they've gone for this Nexus first, and especially when you've been slowed down just a little bit in the early game. Super tough to get this Spire up in time to deal with the initial Corsair, but he's managed it beautifully. He's going to have his Scourge out here in a moment. Corsair not going to be able to get any damage here. And back at home, pumping out a bunch of links, getting all of these hatcheries online. In fact, going to make some Mutalists and trying to get this moving shot here. Can he get the kill on this? He's really forcing a lot of APM out of Action right now. Forcing him to try and chase this.
We're definitely having a game of street ball right now because he's really trying to break the ankles of those Mutalisks to get on an escape. Vector has technically got the Corsair alive for now, but those Mutas will be on interception course to stop that from getting back to the safety of its home base. So really well played here from Action. He's got the Scourge chasing it while the Mutas know exactly its trajectory, so we'll intercept it if the Scourge wasn't successful in finding connections, but it does anyway. Action with the bare minimal amount of Mutalisks right now. trying to kind of scare at Mini into making cannons in his mineral line and what have you, but I don't actually think it's going to be a committal into Mutalisks at all. I think these are just kind of scare tactics here from Action, and we will instead be seeing a much more traditional 6-hatch Hydra setup from him, with the potential of flooding a few mutas here and there to clean up, but really he's only made 3 mutas total. Mini, though, he kind of calls the bluff of Action and puts 3 Zealots with the very fast leg enhancements timing to try and come in here and punish Action's low count of units, making him task switch on 2 fronts. He's handled the 3rd base well, but does lose a lot of Hydras at the natural. Currently, Mini securing some damage with these Zealots. Seems like Action will be able to clean these up fairly cleanly, but this isn't the worst case scenario for Mini either.
Yeah, this is inspirational, man. Action holding off everything with no sunken colonies at all, hitting his macro here and not missing a beat while Mini is trying to pull him apart. This is some very, very good play. And, I mean, what did he lose there? Couple of Hydras?
Few Hydras.
Few Hydras? No, I don't think I saw even a single drone go down. And even as one of the drones was getting targeted, he pulled that out of the mineral line into the main and managed to keep that alive without disrupting all of his mining. So just super impressive from Action. He is hitting all of his beats and looking incredibly strong. I think it's just about time for Action to go ahead and take a 4th base. He's managed to get all of his drones out, and his Hydra numbers getting quite big.
Yeah, he's got 2 game plans. He can either take his 4th and just play a solid game, or he could even just, set up a contain, stop Mini from ever expanding. But the safer play is to take that 4th drone already heading out to take that. And he's a more macro-centric style of player, but he is, I would say, the most aggressive macro Zerg that we've got in not just the lineup, but the scene in general. So he will still be applying pressure while playing very heavily into his mid to late game strengths. So we'll have to wait and see what he's got planned, particularly to slow down this expansion timing from Mini, as well as challenge this Zealot Templar move out. He's even squeezing out more and more drones while doing all this. Double Evo chamber, churning out upgrades. We'll be getting that Hive ahead of schedule. Like, he's made a Dark Archon. Like, he's really thinking that Action's going to try and go Muta Hydra here, but the reality is that this is going to be a full-on tech Zerg before the Protoss player has even taken a 3rd base. Usually you're taking that Hive when the Protoss already has the 3rd, but I mean, Action is just playing to his strengths and is going to be racing ahead to that Hive and the 4th base saturated regardless, and really just consolidating his lead.
Wow, Hive on the way, and he hasn't even built a single lurker yet. It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
4th base. There we go. Lurkers in production. We'll be able to see exactly when this move out occurs with that one Mutalisk, the scouting Mutalisk there. Gonna get full information about when Mini decides to start to move forward. Can just kind of harass that 4th or that 3rd base attempt, slow that down a little bit, and buy time for these lurkers to come online. It's quite a wide spread that you need on this map to be able to cover all of these different lanes. It's quite difficult for the Zerg player, but he is going to start to spread those out now and get all these lurkers online while switching into this late game tech. Really happy that we're getting this type of game out of Action because he's playing, right into his strengths.
Yeah, and Mini kind of feels like he has to just take his 3rd and play defensively, and that's exactly what Action wants right now. He's got 4 gases churning away. That's 1,200 gas a minute, as well as a few drones on minerals. Each drone is basically 50 minerals per minute per worker, so his economy is really exceptional right now. He's going to be able to pump out so many lurkers and whatever else he needs, and eventually he'll have a very crisp plague timing to really start to punish Mini here. And even if somehow Mini goes for like some sort of semi all-in play of 2-3 control groups of goons, he's going to have a fairly early defiler timing to get some Dark Swarms out to help buffer against that. So there's no real easy counterplay here for Mini to punish this from Action. Like, Action is just playing absolutely out of his mind.
Mini's going to move around to this top lane. And so Action will have to respond quickly. Really got to move fast with these lurkers. Getting ahead of the army is critical. So he will get everything up there, but then Mini's going to rotate again. So Action will have to rotate back down in time to match that. He's also got to send things like Lings and Overlords to go and continuously scout that, sacrificing small amounts of units just to gain information about where exactly this army is headed. So far has not set up the lurkers here appropriately. Actually needs to get these into position. Don't allow a Maelstrom to go down on those as they're filing out here, getting into their spots. Gonna set up the lurkers a little bit further back here. Allow Mini to come up onto the high ground, but into a very large concave if he wants to come in and attack this base. Seems like Mini's a bit hesitant to do so. Might be willing to take a fourth base behind this over at that top left.
Yeah, he's sending his Corsairs out across the map to check these other lanes to see if there's reinforcements coming to wrap around the back of this army. And now there is. They're going to be intercepted by a few of the reinforcements of Mini as well, but that will make Mini hesitant to keep pushing. He knows there's a wraparound potential. He's even going to get these units isolated. The High Templars are surrounded, forced to morph an Archon. That might go down anyway. I mean, just look at Action. He's controlling these Zerglings like vultures right now and just causing an absolute nightmare for Mini to have to run back home and defend against like two control groups of Zerglings. They've got adrenal upgrades already, so they're attacking much faster. They haven't even got Plague yet supporting them, and they're already doing a lot of heavy lifting for Action. He's actually ahead in supply. He's almost maxed out before 14 minutes. I mean, what are we even watching right now? This was against a Nexus first Action, playing godlike right now. This is really impressive stuff, Sam.
Just the +1 attack for these Zealots, so they might be three-shotting these Lings. Those Lings are going to be doing some good damage versus this. Dude, this lurker spread is so dirty. So many lurkers here to try and deal with. That's a lot of Dragoons, and he doesn't have the Defiler in position here just yet. Gotta send that Defiler forward. Storm answering these Hydras coming up from the south. A great Maelstrom Storm combo, but again, just barely making any progress as Action starts to answer this, running right into the natural right now. Dark Swarm with a bunch of lurkers, and of course Lings breaking in here as well. That DT is a great move to try and deal with this, but it might even go down to the splash damage. Looks like it will cleave through everything, and he's going to hold on back at home, but Action is definitely in the driver's seat, ahead in supply, and now that Plague is going to start to come online here. Sure, and this is going to be rough for Mini.
Yeah, Action has great understanding of the fundamentals of the matchup. He knows the natural expansion of the Protoss player becomes the weakest point of contention as the game prolongs, and he's going to be attacking it now and putting a lot of pressure onto Mini, forcing him to kind of decide between a counterattack and reinforcing his own rally point. Seems like he's going to be going for the latter here. Plague starting to come online in a big way as well. Look at this streaming of units from Action. He's running an absolute clinic on Mini. Dark Swarm with a few Zerglings underneath it to buffer. Another Plague coming down on those units off screen as he starts to surge forward into this natural expansion. I'm just so impressed with Action's player right now. This is the Action I've come to know and love over the years. He's one of my favorite players, and he's been really in a slump lately, and now it seems like he's woken up from his slumber and the dragon is soaring.
This looks unbeatable. He's making Zerg look like a completely imbalanced race as he's just pouring units across the map. There's nothing Mini can do. He's trying to jump back and forth between these bases. He's just not got enough stuff. There's so much coming at him right now, and everything is just filtering in. Sauron Zerg style from Action, getting into such a fast hive and absolutely dominating in this final game. You can see that cheeky smile on KCM's face there as he just wonders, what the heck are we even watching? We're wondering the same thing. Action playing absolutely out of his mind to clear things off and take a win home for the Zerg.
It really is such impressive stuff. So I don't even know what to say about it. I mean, he's definitely making me feel young again. I'm sure KCM had some similar vibes with that boyish grin. I mean, you'd like to see it. You like to see a player like Action, who's not really been having the best time of it lately, come back to play some of the best games of the year and really making someone like Mini look silly in that matchup, who had a great position with that Nexus first. And despite having no Sunkens and killing a few Hodges in the natural, wasn't really able to get any critical damage done with those counterattacks. And suddenly Action kind of read the game state a little bit too well for Mini to handle and optimize his own build order to show you that you don't need to punish the Nexus first right away. You can just navigate yourself forward with superior control into a commanding position where the game theory favors you and the Protoss has to kind of just sit back and relegate to a third base. And that kind of plays into your hands even more because of your fast hive, double Evo grade style, and the meta of the 2 armor 1 attack upgrade being exploited, forcing the Zealots to 3-hit the Zerglings and what have you, and with the fast adrenal glands, really making them come online in a big way. Just everything was so crisp and stellar from Action. I'm just so impressed with the decision making and the behavior tree he followed.
Some unexpected heroes this week. YSC showing up huge. Completely unexpected. Taking out a bunch of different players and giving Protoss a real fighting chance. The hero for the Protoss squad. Terran falling a little bit flat. Surprising considering the lineup they brought and Sharp's performance last week. I would have thought they would have gotten at least second place, but no surprise Zerg goes out first here. It just wasn't off the back of Sulky like we expected.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, definitely a little bit of an obfuscation of what was going to occur this week of KCM. And I mean, technically keeping Protoss still in it. I mean, Terran could flatline in week number 7 and 8. If Protoss is, putting points on the board, they could, if they win one of these weeks and, get knocked out second in the other one, I mean, they're ahead of Terran. Suddenly Terran will be fighting off against Protoss in the semifinals again. I don't know if they're going to be able to get on the board against Zerg, though, is the only problem. Like, you can't... Zerg would have to flatline, and Protoss has to win both weeks. So, I mean, when all's said and done, it does seem like Protoss will be technically having to fight that semifinals regardless, but there is still hope for them to at least be ahead of Terran on the board when it comes down to it.
Yeah, this was kind of their last hoorah. This was their last hope if they could have won this week. YSC did a good job bringing them almost to that victory, but unfortunately Mini not able to push them over the edge there. It really was Action, though, impressing both of us, impressing all of us with that handling of the Nexus first, his ability to get everything online in the early game and handle all the zealot aggression and, keep his defenses to a minimum, not even building sunken colonies and still managing to switch into Hydras there. Just super impressive stuff from him. And then the late game follow-up, beautifully, beautifully done. I know we're glazing the Zerg players again, guys. We're going to get comments about it, but it is what it is. Action played beautifully. YSC played out of this world as well. Excellent games from him as well. So there's a bit of Protoss glazing for you.
Yeah, Light had great decision making as well. Let's not forget about that. Like his Terran versus Zerg and Protoss understanding was really high level. I mean, the way he dispatched of Soul Key on Eclipse with those timings and razor thin windows was crazy good. And then he also made Shuttle look exceedingly silly on Dominator and ran an absolute clinic on him with exploiting the positional advantage. So definitely some heroes here for Terran and Protoss, but when all's said and done, Zerg's still coming out ahead, but it wasn't Sulky leading the charge this time. It was Action, the unlikely hero, and let's not forget about those other champion tier players of Light and YSC coming through strong for their respective squads, at least in this week of KCM.
Big shout out to everybody who supports this channel, guys, on Patreon and elsewhere on Super Live, and we really do appreciate all of that help that we're getting from the community. Big shout out to you guys who are watching here live as well. We're doing this every Friday on SCTV EN. I think there's about 8 of you guys in here right now, so thank you for being here. That's it. I think we're done, guys. Jumping into game or match number 7 next week. Almost at the end of this season. Season 2 has been a banger so far, but it's not over yet, guys. Stay tuned. We'll see you next week.